still wasn't sure about it. I get that it's the yin to the yang, right? To the universe.
Yeah.
You have the spiral, which is the perfection, and then you have, because reality is not perfect. Reality is jagged. We're at some places we are, and at some places we're not. Like
Right.
she said, if you look at the landscape of a river, the river kind of flows and it looks perfect, but the actual land mass is not, right?
Yeah.
So you have two aspects of the same whole, and I get that. That's yin and yang, right? So I see the fractals and I understand them, but then when I'm reading the different scriptures, the different texts from all around the world, Thoth actually mentions the fractals and says that it's the negative energy of the universe. So I get that, because you have to have the positive and the negative, right? So the perfection would be the God energy, or the perfection, or the good, or the light. You have to have the darkness, and so the darkness would reside there. But that doesn't mean that it's evil, because when you get past this whole 3D reality, then all of that doesn't matter anymore. It fades away.
Yeah.
And everything just
it's pretty deep, man. I'm sure we're going to get pretty deep here today. I hope.
Well, I'm going to talk about that, not the fractals.
I mean, look at you. You're already ready to go. I mean, we're recording right now. Just to let you know, people are coming in. Hello, Maria.
All right. Way to go, guys. Welcome.
Christy.
I didn't know we were recording. I just realized that, you got us live. I didn't see that.
I just hit it. I hit record because you were riffing, man. So I'm like, all right.
That's okay. That's good stuff. Yeah, I am raring to go. First thing I'm going to do is, we're going to talk about this whole, the whole idea of us being a slave labor race. I'm going to fix the mindset into that quickly, because that's all, it's all bunk, right? And people know that it is. I'll go once we go there. I'll go there instead of talking like now and just kind of throwing it out there. Once we get there, I'll explain that, and then go into the galactic origins and the origin of the species. Right? I mean, that's what we're here to discuss today, right?
That's right. Our existence as humans, and where that came from,
and where that came from,
how that evolved into, what that evolved into, where it came from, the source, and I was doing some meditation on it last night. There's so many different aspects of it that we wouldn't.
Well, I'm going to talk to that point. You're absolutely right. Yeah. I'm going to talk to that exact point that you just brought up. Is exactly where I'm going to start. Once we get the translation out of the way, and then when we dig into the meat, it's going to be exactly what you just said, how it evolved and where we get this idea, because there's so many out there. And I actually made a correlation. And I actually understand, and I'm going to explain that, and hopefully I can get it all in the 30 minutes. So when I talk, I'm going to be talking fast, bro. Right?
You're good, man. We can overlap it, and don't worry about that. So,
well, you know me, I can get going and roll pretty quick. So, those of you who don't know me, you guys are going to have to rewind, because I'm going to throw some knowledge at you. Right? Yep, I'm going to hit you guys with so much stuff. You're going to have homework. You're going to go, I got to go and see if this guy even knows what he's talking about by learning what he's talking about. At least that's what I hope I accomplish, because then I get people to get their juices stewing, and they start running out to go, hey, I need to learn more. What is this he was talking about? And then they go down another path. Hi, Norma, by the way. I saw you back there, but I didn't say anything.
Said hi.
Yeah, I saw you there, and I didn't say anything because I was too busy blabbing on. And I decided I better say hello. And somebody said hello to you in the crowd too.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Maria Moreno, you might need to connect your devices. Just give permission for your mic and your camera. So you might need to go out and then come back in.
Yeah, that always sucks when they have to do that, because they didn't realize they left it. They were on Skype last night or something, and the camera still thinks it's over there. And yeah.
So, welcome everybody to our Ancient Galactic Origins. It's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you for buying a ticket. This just supports us so we can bring on better shows, and more shows, guests that are willing to participate, because we are taking a lot of time to do this. I've taken all month, or actually a little longer, because I had to reschedule it and postpone. Studying things and doing meditations, and I do put a lot into what I say. It may not come out right. It may not come out the way that I'd like to articulate it, but we do spend a lot of time, and that's why I've invited Leo. Everybody welcome Leonard O'Neill from Orion Rising on Facebook and YouTube, and he gets pretty deep on his podcasts. and check that out. But yeah, he's got a lot to say. We're going to be talking about. We're going to be coming from his perspective and what he's learned, and I'll kind of talk about, you know, as he talks and he kind of presents what he's where he's coming from and what he's learned over time, because this man has a lot of wisdom and has done a lot of research, and he's not going to steer you wrong. So, but then we've got other guests coming on that will be coming from a different perspective as well, and that's
Absolutely
the beauty of it. That's why this show is going to be fucking phenomenal.
Right.
Excuse my language.
right. We're adults
Hey,
here. We can say that
it's a
word.
private show, so we can do that here.
Yeah. We're adults. We can do that here.
That's right. So, let's see here. We've got Christy here, Maria Moreno, and Kathy Graves.
Hello, everybody.
We might come into a time if you really want to ask a question and come online, come onto the screen. I can invite you. We can have up to 10 at a time. Whoops, I'm not looking at my camera. I'm so used to looking here.
I do the same thing. You got to get used to just staring at the camera, right?
If you have something to add and you want to, just leave it in the private chat, and we can we'll bring you up if you want to ask a question, or if you have something to add. You know, I'd love for all of you to interact as well. So, the one, the only, Leonard O'Neill, very versed in history and spirituality and just life, you know, just that school of hard knocks, basically, you know.
Yeah, no joke, right? I mean,
and
that's the truth of it.
One of the wisest men I know, so he's going to talk to you
that.
about
I don't know if I would call myself that, but thank you.
He's humble, folks. He's humble.
I'll take the compliment, but I don't agree with it. I don't think I'm most.
So where do you?
I hope I'm not the most wise people on the planet. I really do, because we're in trouble if I'm it. Yeah, we're in trouble if I'm it. But thank you for being here, and those of you who know me out there in the crowd, thank you. You're amazing. I love you guys, and you know, share out everything and help in any way that you guys can for for us to keep doing this kind of stuff.
Yes.
We need you guys, right? We need you guys. We need
Exactly.
People always say everything should be free. We think so too, but unfortunately, we live in a universe where not everything is free. So we have to pay for this stuff to have ourselves on air. So we're always going, please, guys, give us a bone. Right?
I mean, I still need to get a nice mic like you. I don't have a Phantom Power yet, so I got to get a board and get that. I want to make this experience better for you viewing.
Yeah.
And for us as well. We have a lot of fucking fun too. you know?
Right. I have one of those lapel mics that I can use, but I don't, because I don't know if the battery's going to go dead. So what if I'm live and I'm talking and my mic goes out, and I don't know it until somebody goes, dude, your mic's not working. And then I'm stuck. Hold on, let me unscrew this and find a battery and put it in here. So I go ahead and just use this, plug it in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I've got two really good mics. Well, at least one. But I have two mics that are condenser mics, so they need the Phantom Power.
Yeah.
So I might have to ask you about that. But anyway, let's get started. What do we? Where do you want to start, my man?
Let me start with and I put a lot of thought into this, because there's a lot of people that are passing off misinformation, right? And like the whole we're a slave labor race, we were created to mine something for some alien race, and all of that has been based on Zechariah Sitchin's translation of the Dead Sea Scrolls, of the Mesopotamian scrolls.
Yeah,
and that's been proven that he did it wrong. Right. And I would refer you to Dr. What is his name here? It's David Miano. Hold on, I'm going to look. Dr. David Miano, who is a linguist. You can Google him, or you can go on YouTube.
If you want to share the screen with me, you can kind of show everybody.
In fact, what I'll do is I'll put this. Let me get this video pulled up here from YouTube, and I'll actually link it in the chat. How's that?
Awesome.
All right. So hold on, I got to pull this up here on my page and stop it from starting, so you guys don't hear it talking over here. And then I'll capture this for you guys. Okay. So this is only an 8-minute video. I'm not saying we should play it right now. You guys can do the homework on it and watch this afterwards, but I would suggest that you do. He's a linguist who actually is going to tell you exactly what I'm going to tell you now. So I'm not the linguist, but he is the linguist, and he knows that the Mesopotamians wrote a dictionary and actually published that, and they have a copy of that now. We do, the world. So they know what all the words mean. And Zechariah Sitchin, when he was translating the scrolls, he came across the word Anu, saw that, in this sentence and went, wait a minute. So this word Anu must be the Anu, the god Anu. So the Mesopotamians did not have a god called Anu. So the word Anu that he was thinking was the god Anu was actually a Greek god named Anu. Okay. So he then jumped to the Greeks and took that word and said that he must be saying the god Anu. And then he went back to the word ki and said comes. So then he translated that as Anunnaki, 3 words, Anunnaki, not 2 words. And he, by that translation, he said, the God from heaven came to earth. And the actual translation, that was an Akkadian translation, a Greek translation, and it was wrong. So the actual translation, the words were cut into 2 words. It was Anunna and the word ki. The word Anunna, which is what he's supposed to have saw, and he chopped off at the Anu and used the na and the ki, that translates into what he thinks is the God coming from heaven. The word Anunna actually means royalty. So the sentence actually says the prince came. Royalty came. Not someone came from the heavens. Not someone came from the stars and created us. That was a fabrication. And everyone knows this and has been told that and proven over and over, but the History Channel guys from the History Channel's show continues, even though they know the translation was wrong, they continue to push the idea, the narrative, because it helps them with their alien ideology. So they keep pushing the idea that we were created by an alien race as a slave labor, or we're a penal colony, and that is actually wrong. Right? There's lies. There's truth to it. But not so much now. But we're here to discuss the actual creation of the human race, not the condition. Right? The condition is we're in a playpen. We're a little baby soul, and we're in a playpen. So is it a prison? Yeah, but it's easily escapable. Right? Yeah. It's not a prison penal colony. Some aliens are watching us.
We're not here because we're being punished. Just to let you all know that my perspective and my work that I've done, we're not here to be punished. We punish ourselves plenty. No, nothing else needs to punish us.
Yeah, no, I mean, we're here to experience.
But who does that to you? You do that to yourself. So this is a playground, but it is also a school ground too. This is a training ground. This is where we learn a lot of things here on Earth. So
that's what we're supposed to do. That's what we're here for. So that's the condition. The condition, guys, is what Aaron just said. Our condition is not, we're not here to suffer because someone else is doing that to us. We do all that to ourselves. We're our own judgment. We are also our own savior, and that's what we're supposed to learn. Right. So, but that's not what we're here to discuss. So the creation, let's go to that. Right.
Yeah.
We were just talking off camera about that. How there's so many different theories out there, and you read the all the texts that we have found, the scrolls that we found all across the world, and everyone says, well, you know, the Judeo-Christian religion was based on the Mesopotamian religion, which was based on the Babylonian religion, which was based on, and so which one's right? We don't know because they're all slightly different. And we're starting to figure out, and I have figured this out, that all of those are the same story. Okay. Yeah. The only difference in the story is the timeline and the place and the dynamic between the male and the female in the society that they're in. Let me explain. If you look at the Hebrew society, so the Christian, Western Judeo-Christian religion and the Hebrew religion, but prior to that, is based on a monotheistic God that is male dominated. The women at the time were possessions not equal to the male, so there was only a God as the Godhead. No female was involved in that. That's why Jesus was born to a lowly woman on the earth, not a goddess in that religion. So there was a slight change in the dynamic of the top dog and the birth of the what we call the Jesus factor being the hero or the sacrificial factor, the savior factor. In that character is Jesus there. But if you go to look at in the Norse mythology, you see that the male and the female are dual. They're both the one. So you have Odin and Freyr, his wife, who gave birth to the savior character in that pantheon is Thor. Thor and Jesus are interchangeable because they're exactly the same. but this is more of a female oriented equality religion. So therefore the goddess is now venerated equal to the god. And then if you look at the Celts and the northern Greeks, it was the opposite way around. The woman, the female goddess, was the one dominant factor, and the male was beneath her. The male god died each year and impregnated the goddess with itself and was reborn with the cycle of life on earth in the springtime, and then gives life to the world once again. So in those pantheons, the feminine is in charge, and the godhead and the god is now diminished as a secondary character. However, the dynamic still plays out the same in the end, because all of the trials and tribulations that everyone goes through is still the same outcome. So no matter where you look in history, if you look at the Mesopotamians, you have Marduk. Marduk is the Jesus character in that story, and Tiamat is the mother goddess. And eventually he has to fight her and kill her, because that's the dynamic in that storyline. Thor had to fight the dragon of the North Sea. Jesus had to fight the serpent in the garden. That was the temptation from the devil. He was the serpent. So you have this, you have the same reoccurring theme, slightly different because they're in a different time, in a different place, with a different dynamic between male and female. And that's the only change. So it's not that this was based on that, which was based on that, which was based on that. They're all identical with subtle differences because they're having the same experience, slightly different. So when you come down to now, depending on where you are on the planet, we're having the same dichotomy. We're trying to figure out where we fit in this whole pantheon, and people get stuck on, I'm going to take on the ones from Mesopotamia as the truth, or the one from the Jesus factor as the truth, or the Muhammad factor. Muhammad, it was the savior character, the same as Jesus, only he didn't sacrifice his life to be murdered. He sacrificed his life and ascended. He still became the martyr, but he wasn't put up on a cross. Jesus did that, so the next time it was slightly different. Do you understand? But it's the same message. It's all the same thing. So there isn't different religions. They're all the same, identical religion or spirituality. That's the creation. So the creation story of all of those pantheons, of all those religions, are almost 100% identical, with just a few tweaks of the dynamic.
Kind of reminds me of, what is that? The Matrix. I don't like to reference movies too much or quote from movies, but the Matrix, where he's talking to the architect, and the architect tells him, this keeps repeating. You've been here before.
But see, here's the thing, brother. I at first didn't like doing that either with movies, but in the movies, these writers and directors are putting that stuff in on purpose, because that's their telling of that. So the Matrix literally is, all of those movies literally is the same thing. If you read the creation story by the Hebrews or the Vikings or any pantheon, even the Chinese, it's all the same. So the creation story that was set down in the Matrix is sound. It's true. It's just they're showing you it from a different perspective of the modern computer. And we're starting to realize that it is that. So when you were saying, when he was talking to the Oracle, and she explains how all of this is completely cyclical and it continues to happen, but a slightly different outcome each time, that's real. That's the way the universe actually is and has been created and does work. Each time we do this and we go through the scenario, we change it slightly, because we're not supposed to have the same exact experience. We're trying to experience, and that's what's been set down by the creation, is to experience every possible experience in infinite experience, infinite possibility. So each time we have to change it slightly, otherwise it's the same thing over and over and over again, and then we're not evolving. Do you see? So the creation of the universe is in everything you see. Every movie, every song, everything that you see, think, and hear is playing the creation in front of your eyes over and over and over again. And it's being recreated, right? If you look at the Hermetic texts from Hermes Trismegistus way back, this is the oldest probably information that we have on the planet. It's older than the Mesopotamians. It's older than the Hittites. It's older than everything. And in there it says the same, that the universal mind of the one true creator we can't see, but we can see the creation, and we witness the creation every single second of our lives, because everything around us is the creation that is being created by that intellectual mind that is everything. But we can't see that person. We could never know that person because we exist in the creation, not outside of it. Do you understand?
Right.
So because of that, we were created, according to the Hermetic text, the human race was created so that we could witness the beauty of the creation that the creator is creating on a sentient level. So literally, the creator created stuff and said, there's nobody seeing it but me. Then bam, I need souls, and I need them to grow, and I need them to see it and see the wonderment of it, because I have to say they, because those are the books that were taken out of the Bible from the creation, that we are androgynous at the top. Okay. So eventually the male and female merge as one. So the Godhead is father, mother, or mother, father. It just depends on your perspective. It's still the same. It's one. It's one. Okay. So we were created as souls to experience the creation over and over and over again. And that's what we're here doing. We just don't know it because we can't see the forest because there's too many trees in front of us to find it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the whole, I think, beauty of it. We were just talking about this earlier before we started with the fractals, right? And that there's so many other depths we can go to. And I think that's what we're doing is we go through these cycles. We may go through the same long cycle 3 or 4 times in the same circle of, creation and destruction, but it's all the same, and that's a Hermetic principle as well, is that there's always that cycle going on. Yes, we do all encompass. We have the masculine and the feminine. Yeah. We are androgynous, as you say. I agree with that.
Yeah. And see, it plays out. Pardon me, it plays out in society where that's allowed, where you can see in the modern society of this planet, it's allowed, it's okay, right? Where if you look back in time to the Hebrew time, it wasn't okay. You couldn't be gay back then. You couldn't be bi back then. You couldn't be in any way associated with male and female. You had to pick one. In fact, if you were a boy, you had to pick male. Otherwise, they'd stone you. That was the way it was back then. They were very masculine, and that was a whole orientation. And that kind of is hard because that religion or that ideology is still alive today. So people are still have a problem with that, because if you look at like the Roman Catholic ideology, they still try to teach, and preach that you can't be gay and you shouldn't be, because they're very conservative, and they go back to this, harken back to this 3,000-year-old dusty tome that was written in the desert by someone. But that doesn't apply necessarily. It's like it's all a choice. So if you are a Muslim, you won't eat bacon. You think that that's foul and you won't touch it. But if you're a Hindu, you won't eat beef because that's your God. But if you're an American, you eat both, and you go, what's your guys' deal over there with it's good? Bacon is good, right? Now, but you have to understand, when they told people don't eat bacon, it was because we didn't have refrigeration. The truth is, pork spoils very quickly, even after you cook it. So if you don't have refrigeration, don't even mess with that stuff. Just don't eat it, because it's bad and you'll die. So that was what they were taught, but they didn't tell them why, right? So that people would just say, God says don't do that, because that was the way you got your education back then. Whereas now we're more philosophical minded, and we always go, well, why not? Right? We're a little more defiant that way and independent. When someone says don't eat that, why? Well, because you'll die from it. Well, he just ate it. He's not dying. Well, okay. Well, the reason for that is it'll go bad quickly and you could die. Well, but if we eat it today, we're fine, right? Right. Well, yeah. Okay. So we've grown past the ideology because we have the ability to preserve the pork and not have to worry about us dying. So it's still a choice. You can make that choice and be that if you wish, but it's not necessary anymore. It's the same thing with all things. If you're simpler and you believe that a cow is a god, then you're not going to eat it, and that's okay. But if you then grow up to be an adult, you realize that's a cow. Yeah. That's not a god. There's God. The Godhead is different, and it's up here and it's intellectual. So it's not an animal. It's not a bird, or it's not, but it is all things. Yes, because that is the creation.
You're saying that you're moving into that higher dimension or higher plane, higher consciousness, as you know, it's a cow.
Right.
It's not my God. It's a cow.
It's not my God. It's a cow. It's not talking to me.
And a lot of that ancient kings and queens, they wanted you to think of them as gods.
Yes.
And
they would say they were. Yeah.
Right.
And there's still
They
people
still
that do
do.
now. Yeah, they
They
still do.
still have like these jubilees and shit
Over
in
in
UK.
North Korea, the Kim
Yeah.
Jong, whatever his name is, he
Kim
and
Jong-un.
his entire family have told the people of North Korea that they're gods. Everyone believes he is a god because they've told them that we're gods, and they believe it still. So that's just that's a matter of control and a mechanism for control. The pharaohs said they were gods, right? The Roman Caesars said they were
Greeks,
God on earth, right? The Greeks, you know what I mean? They said they were God. So that was the way to control people, was to venerate themselves above the masses and to be in control. And that some of that stuff is residually still around, but the majority of the people are starting to grow past that now. And that's the problem, is that everyone's looking, what are we supposed to do? Joe Rogan had a great saying, because he said, we keep looking in the past for this, something scrawled on an animal skin and go, that's the oldest one, so that one must be right. When we really should be looking here at our present time and finding our own answers now, because that's the truth. We're supposed to do that each time. Right. So your creation is, to answer that question, let's go down that road, because some people want to know, what about this alien factor? Okay, the truth is, the majority of the souls that are occupying this three-dimensional body on this planet that we call Earth are not actually from here and never evolved here. There are some, probably about 500,000 or 600,000 people on this planet currently actually started their first dimensional, second dimensional life on this planet. Everybody else has come from somewhere else. And so what the problem is, people go, well, then how did I get here? Was a prison planet? There we go, man. No. Wherever you were when you died as a 2D person, you needed to go to the third dimension, and this place was the closest three-dimensional life support planet to wherever it is that you were from. And that's how you got here. And some of you that are here came here on purpose to help the people here and to witness this time, because this is the time that is the dark night of the soul for the entire human race, for all of us to graduate at the same time, which is very rare and doesn't happen very often. And we don't talk about that too much, because that gets really complicated and people start going, wait a minute, what? Because it has to do with the whole Jesus factor, right? And the Savior factor reoccurring over and over with different names. And the reason for that is that if the people here were stuck and not graduating, so the Creator actually appeared on earth in human form over and over again throughout time. And the last time that it happened that we're aware of was the Jesus character that came into play 2,000 years ago. I don't know if there's somebody who has come through since that is that large of a character. But we do know that Jesus, that name, the person that was there in that body, reoccurred over and over again in different names. There was Marduk, there was Thor, there was it's just still the same deity in there with a different name, because the culture called that person
just rebranded. Right. Well, and I think this does happen. Like, there is that savior figure or savior figures that you can actually talk about. And I think a lot of us do live that life to a certain extent. But this is part of the experience. This is part of
and I like that you saw that. Okay, because people, that's good that you said that right now, because a lot of people don't understand what you just said. And let me peel back the onion on that. What Aaron's talking about right there is that on a smaller scale, I am Jesus. On a smaller scale, Aaron is Jesus. Aaron's the savior. I'm the savior. Norma's the savior. So in our lives, we are in that cycle as well. So when you have this big Godhead, everything that Godhead is doing is spiraling downward, and it trickles down to where we are, and we are becoming the same thing. So on a small scale in our everyday lives, we are playing out the part of all of the characters that are in every pantheon. We are the victim who becomes not the victim. We are the one who enslaves, who becomes the slave. We are the slave who becomes free. All of that. And we have to realize that. And that's what Jesus and all of those characters were trying to tell us, is that don't look without, look within, because you within, as below, so above, as within, so without. We are the ones who were in charge. When we were created with incorruptible powers. That was told in the book of Judas. of all things, and other books as well. What does that mean to be incorruptible? You can read all of the scriptures and you'll find that everything that was created and was created incorruptible is immortal and is in charge. Okay. So the human race was created with an incorruptible power. What is that power? The power of creation, the power of love. So therefore, we on a micro scale to the macrocosm are the same as Jesus, that character, the savior, the champion of the people. My name means that. Right? My name is Leonard Edward O'Neill. The name Leonard means Lionheart. The name Edward literally means a guardian or protector, and O'Neill means son of the champion of the people. So my actual name is the same, means Leonidas. The Leonidas character is Lionheart, right? Lionheart, guardian, protector, champion of the people. That's the name that I was given, but it's what I do because it's what you all do. I'm a reflection of you, and you're a reflection of me, and I'm a reflection of Jesus. I'm a reflection of Muhammad. We are all the same. Marduk, it doesn't matter the character that you insert there. It's the hero with 1,000 faces. That's what Joseph Campbell called that factor.
What do you think about the Ben-Hur story going on at the same time as the Jesus story? Do you think those two correlate with the same person?
Yeah, and that's good, bro. Wow, see, you're really actually on it, brother. Because that was the microcosm to the macrocosm. Jesus was the Godhead coming here on earth, but Ben-Hur was the same character, the hero character who was the slave. That was the same ascension. It's the same beatitude. He was just like Moses. Moses was risen up as a prince and then fell as a slave, only to come back as the savior. It's the same exact scenario happening again. So the Ben-Hur, Judah Ben-Hur, was a smaller version playing out the same scenario, and he actually met himself. Remember when he was on his way to the slave ship, Jesus gave him water. Do you remember that? Jesus gave him water, and the guy was going to whip him, and Jesus turned and looked at him, and he stared at Jesus and realized
put them both together. That's an odd one to me, and I can't reconcile it in my brain yet, other than the obvious. But it's funny when I found that out. I'm like, that's interesting. That's interesting. It's an interesting thought. All right, we're going to bring Teresa on. If she maybe have her join the conversation here for a while, and
good, yeah. The more, the merrier.
Hello, Teresa.
Welcome.
Hi, Leonard. I'm Teresa. Nice to meet you. Hello,
Nice to meet you.
Yes.
How's your day going?
Great.
She goes by Risa. What's your brand? What's your brand, Teresa?
You could call me Risa.
Yeah.
Risa? Okay.
Okay.
Like I told
Eric
earlier, today's a good day to have a Saturday on.
Yes, it is. It's a very good day.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So how's everybody rolling? Everybody's rolling good. Hi, Kathy. Hi, everybody. For those of you who know me, my name is Risa. I am on social media since 2012, more of an observer and a person who pushes controversial issues as we live in chaotic times, and we're human and we are finding our divine balance. So it's very interesting. I was listening to you for the last, I'm going to say, 13 minutes, Leonard. And while I do agree with a lot of what you say, I actually take that information from basic history and I apply it now. Because I was listening, and you're absolutely right. The names change. The principles are the same throughout history. And the storyline is basically, how does the human evolve? And we could take this and we could branch it out, because you're correct. The ancient Sumerian texts, the Gnostic texts, the Bible, the Quran, and anything else in between all have this reoccurring thing. Right. So my question would be, as I am listening to you, I think what happens to human beings is that the amount of information is enormous and it's very hard to digest. And one of the things on my quest is that I want to know our origins. And as I understand our origins, I don't want to get caught up on the story of the many different variances. I want to go to the principal, let's say, theme, core, the principal characters, and I want to have the best possible life here now, because we've all suffered a lot of trauma. We've all suffered a lot of confusion. We are in agreement that there isn't normalcy on this planet for whatever reason.
Right.
So I took everything that we've learned, and believe me, I'm not afraid to learn. I'm not afraid to ask questions. I'm not afraid to say, look, well, I've mastered this, and now I'm on to something else, or some things I just can't master. They're not my jam. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I will say something about the Anunnaki, because that's where I parallel everything off of. You say that this is not an enslaved planet. I tend to disagree with that, because the mindset has been so embedded in slavery that the human being naturally falls into that trap. So our natural state has been hidden from us, because God knows where we could have gone, right? Because when I look at the Anunnaki, when I break down language, and the Anunnaki would be the shining ones, and the Elohim would be part of the fallen angels, because again, the language all means the same, but the terminology comes out different, and it's very confusing.
Right.
I turn around.
Hard to translate perfectly.
Say that again? Yeah.
It's tough to translate all of it perfectly, right? And to a place where, so yeah, I think that there's a lot of people that are wrong about things and very right about things. Right. Even, Zachariah Sitchin as well. There were some things that are wrong about it, what he was saying, maybe mistranslated. But then there's others that have been able to kind of take it further. And, so it's coming from, like we were saying, is coming from a lot of different perspectives. And I think there's a lot of truth to the Anunnaki. There's a lot of truth to that creation story.
Yes.
And that's kind of what we were talking about, that there's a lot of different perspectives.
But even with that story, it matches up with all the other creation stories. And so no matter what,
and that's
place that you start from, yeah.
Right. And
it all kind of
what I believe in the exercise, I believe that all of those things are true, because all of those things are different aspects of the same storyline. And I think they're there to serve as an example for us, because we're actually supposed to take from all of that and realize, like you were saying, is this place a prison? Yes. But is it a prison that was manufactured by a three-dimensional alien? No. Okay. Unless you consider the creator a three-dimensional alien, which on that aspect, yes, but on that aspect, we're all aliens.
So can I jam with you a little bit? Right. Because I understand where you're coming from. So if I was to pick that up, I would say if you look at the censorship on this planet and that enslaved mentality, people want to create a literal as to what happened to the human being, and I could roll with that, right? I understand it's very gentle and delicate ground, but if you look at the control going back to ancient time and how a select group of people, whether you want to call it Anunnaki, whether you want to call it Palladian, because I guess Lemurian or Atlantis, if we want a broad spectrum this, right? I would say a select group of people, entities, higher intelligent human beings, because we could roll it out, have enslaved the majority of human beings, because it's playing out right now as we speak. And yes, we have the choice of free will, because I'm sitting here, I'm talking and discussing with you, and I'm learning from you as much as I am also interacting. But I would say that's a big part of our ruination as a collective consciousness, because what about some basic moral things that help us free ourselves from these things? To say, guys, we could say, Yeah, like I follow the story of Enlil and Enki. I could apply that then to Murdoch or Thor
Absolutely,
or
because it's the
all
same. Yeah.
that meat and potatoes. But
Yep.
it's not a question anymore of wanting to prove that to the point, well, I got the $1 million answer to the question that has been asked. My whole thing is now we're human, we're divine, we could access all this. And how do we turn around now and take that very roots, everything that you said, as far as going back, as far as the history? I agree with you because it's written right there. Now, how do we simplify it? Because
Well,
it's
see, here's the answer to that, and this is the actual equation. This is what we're actually supposed to be doing. Is to figure out what you just said. So the idea of what we're supposed to do here is when we become sentient for the first time. Let's go back to the law of one and talk about the universe and the universe, how it plays out to what you're saying. There was a time before the veiling when all of us knew everything that we are supposed to know now, or that we're starting to figure out. We already knew all that. We never had that separation of not knowing the creator and not understanding that we were part of the creator. So when that was happening at that time, however many millennia ago that was, people were stagnant because we would sit around and go, well, I am God, I am the one, I am the creator, and eventually I'll get back to, so I'm just going to chill here for a bit. And nobody was moving. So then, pardon me, then the creator decided we have to change something up here and figure it out. And through trial and errors, I don't know exactly how long that took. Eventually, in this place, the third dimension, they decided once you think, therefore I am, you become sentient. Then you go to this place, which is the three-dimensional place that we're in. And now you are separated. Your knowledge is separated, and you're in this prison. And that's the playpen that you've been set in by your parents. And you have to, and this is just an analogy, a parable to the larger picture. You have to, as a baby, realize you're in something that they pull you out of and put you back in, and you can't get out of it. So then you have to sit up, learn to then stand up, grab a hold of the thing and hold yourself up until your legs get enough strength in your arms, and you keep pulling yourself until eventually you pull yourself out of the playpen. Then you fall and hurt yourself and cry. Your parents come and pick you up and console you and put you back in the playpen. And eventually you continue to get out of that playpen, and they stop putting you in it because you keep climbing out of it. You're evolving now. You're learning and adapting to your situation, and you're having that experience, and that is moving forward. That's the little macrocosm to the microcosm. So we as a species are supposed to be inundated with all of these ideologies because they're all examples of what we're supposed to be doing, and we're supposed to see them in everything and learn. Like you said, I get all that because it's there and it's in the scriptures, and all of the characters are interchangeable. So where are we now? Where does all of this fit with us now? And that's the actual $1 million question, and that's what we're supposed to be answering for ourselves.
I can answer that question for myself, okay?
Right.
And I think that that's very important for individuals to be encouraged to speak for themselves. When I go back and I compare my own progress, I'm definitely not in the same place I was many, many moons ago.
Right, absolutely.
But what I have found is that people continue to loop because we're so inundated with this knowledge that we are supposed to be godlike, that we forget to be human. So what I do now is that I live a human life. And as I live a human life, I invite in all that people will say is magic, is nature, is, I blow up as well as anybody else. I can admit when I'm wrong. I can admit sometimes I'm like, you should not have said that. But I never deny that I am living this human life. And as I am living this human life, I am a better person. I don't do things like I used to do.
Right.
I have accountability for behavior that is less than. So therefore, it frees the slave mentality because I don't have to be subjugated to any of these things pulling me.
And why is that? And why is that? This is the important thing. You're right onto it. And why is that? It's because what? Because you are being. Because
Yep.
what am I? What are
Yes.
you? We are human
Yeah.
beings.
And in that in itself, being a human is the divinity of it all. I mean,
Yes.
this is where
It's
we're
the
at right
purpose.
now.
It's
Right?
the purpose Teresa's
Yes,
onto.
that
It's
is
the purpose.
divine.
She is being her best self, and that is what we're supposed to do.
Right.
That's why technology has nothing to do with what we're supposed to do. That's why if you look at the Mayans, they didn't have technology, but they were being.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you see? So the truth is we're supposed to learn to ignore all of that, acknowledge it, because it is the cycle of the
Yes.
universe playing out and showing us what we're supposed to do. The truth is what we're supposed to do is
Right.
live and
Be
experience
and
be.
yes, learn and grow.
And there are ways. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Teresa. What was that?
We're supposed to live and we're supposed to not treat people. Look, there's a difference between telling someone you got to screw off at this particular point because that's a human thing and that's getting out of hand.
Right.
Than being
Right.
outright
Right.
nasty and domineering and,
Right.
creating all this drama in the name of goodness. And you tell me you're going to straighten my chakras out and me out for $2,000. I'll be
Right.
like, wait a minute. Because if you sit down and if you pay $2,000 with me on a private lesson or a private session, I should say, my clients are way different. We're doing different things. It's not about the universe. It's about how we apply it here.
Yep.
So
Here.
that's a whole
Now.
different things. But if you tell me that money's gonna change my inside, no.
Yeah, no.
Are you crazy? And
That's what all of the prophets were trying to say. That's what all of that hero character, that savior character, Mohammed, Jesus, Thor, all of those people, even David, they were all, and Moses, they're all trying to tell you, look within.
Yeah,
Live.
and you're not gonna like sometimes when you look within, because you're
Nope.
right. We're
Yeah.
organic. We
Yep.
have a cycle on this planet.
Yep.
We die like the seasons
Yep.
die and rebirth.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I think that takes away from people because they're so busy getting to the next dimension that you don't even understand what this dimension is about. So how are you even gonna,
Right. Eckhart Tolle talked about that you're obsessed with either the past. I should have changed something because look what happened back there. And then you come to now and you're looking to the future, always looking to the future. That's what Yoda said about what's his name? Skywalker. He's always looking to the future. He's never here now. And that's exactly
Right.
the point.
Never
The
being
point is,
in the present.
he wasn't being in the present, and that's what we do. Like you were saying, they're all so worried about getting to the next level, but when you get to there, it's now, and you miss it because you're still looking ahead.
We're here now.
Yeah.
No,
The whole secret, is to be in the now, to be here, present now. It's hard to do that. That's one of the hardest things that we have to achieve when we try to meditate. We're trying to do that, and I have a little way of showing you how easy it is to do. And I'll do that really quickly if Aaron says it's okay. It's a 30-second experiment.
You got a few
Aaron.
minutes left.
And,
Go ahead.
what's
We're
that?
going to let Teresa take over, and then
okay, let me do that real quick and I'll be done,
ahead.
right? Let me do that real quick. We'll be done. We'll let Teresa take over. So it's a 30-second exercise. All of you that are out there, I want you guys to do this with me. I'm going to tell you what to do, and then I'm going to be quiet because I have to be quiet for you to do this.
Go for it, man.
And then you guys do this, and then when you're done, I'm going to ask you a question. So what I want you to do is be comfortable wherever you are. Make sure that you can close your eyes and not fall over. So sit down or whatever and make yourself comfortable. And what I want you to do is I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to breathe, and I want you to concentrate on your breath, inhaling and exhaling, and continue concentrating on your breath, feeling your body inhale and exhale that. And I'm going to let you do that. And when I say now, I want you to start, and I'm going to be quiet, and I'm going to let you go. And I want you to think about that. Just pay attention to my breathing, and I'm inhaling and I'm exhaling and what that feels like in my body. Okay. So start now. Now ask yourself this question. What was I thinking while I was doing that?
No thing.
Nothing.
Not
That's
a
right.
thing. My
You were being.
Yeah.
Actually, nothing.
Boom.
You were
My brother.
being present in this moment right then.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
And
what
that's
everybody
what that
tries to
meditation
achieve when
is.
they
Like I've said that
meditate.
before. 5 minutes. 5 minutes of meditation. 2 minutes.
Yep.
It does wonders if you can take the
Even
time out of your day to do that.
20
It does just kind of reset everything.
And see, that's what when people are upset and someone says to them, breathe. That's where that came from.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
where that came from, because if you stop and
Yep.
you breathe and you pay attention to your breath, you're
Yeah.
now present in the now and you're no longer upset.
Totally.
Yep.
So I tell people 30
awesome.
seconds, all you have to do is that, and you can catch a glimpse of what we're supposed to be doing, experiencing the now. All right, I'm done.
Thank you very much, brother. Where can people go to find you? Please go ahead
You
and
guys
let
can
everybody know
go
anything
to, if you go
coming
to
up.
Facebook, you can look me up on Facebook, Orion Rising on Facebook, or Leonard O'Neill on Facebook. You can also go to YouTube. You can look me up there on YouTube, Orion Rising. Both of those are my podcast channels. If you listen to a podcast on any MP3 file anywhere on the planet, look up Leonard O'Neill and Orion Rising. I have my podcast is listened to in 60 countries. So you guys can hear it wherever you are on the world. If you want to watch the MP4 file, you got to go to YouTube or Facebook.
So cool
Yes.
meeting you. It was very cool.
Thank you
meeting
very much, brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
Rock on, rock
Gratitude,
on.
deep gratitude to you.
Deep gratitude.
Thank you, brother.
We'll see you back here soon.
Yeah.
I'm
Hopefully,
gonna send
right?
you a friend
You
request.
guys can also see me on
That's
my
right.
show, but you can also, I have on the 27th of this month, I'm doing a paid a speaking engagement with Stephen and Evan Strong from Australia. They're on their 16th seminar or webinar about the creation of
Nice.
the human race. And I'll be back talking about this then as
Very
well. And that's
good.
$26
Very cool.
admission for that one. But you can also hear me on Friday night and Wednesday, 4 p.m. West Coast America time, for free. When that's when my podcast goes live.
Greatly, and you're great
Awesome.
for the information. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Leonard.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Okay, is it all right if I hang out in the green room and watch? You can take me
Yeah,
out of here, and
yeah.
I'll just sit in the green room and listen, because I want to stay
Go for it,
tuned
man.
in, and I didn't log in anywhere else. So
Hey, keep on talking. I don't.
Hello, Teresa.
Hi, darling. How are we?
At least Teresa LaPre had to give a proper introduction, but she's a worker of the human soul and the human spirit, and comes from a place of spirituality from within as a human, keeping everything real, keeping everything where it is right now, instead of getting lost in this place of psychosis, which is going on everywhere in the world right now. People.
Yes, there's massive.
And I think need more
Yes.
people that can speak about being the human right now, and that's what Teresa does well. So welcome, Teresa.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. Some of you I know, some of you I don't know. So I have this belief in my soul that you could be human and still be holy and learn along the way and actually deal with what's happening on this planet. It's very nice to go back into history and pull things to help us. But the human condition on this planet is actually reaching a point of chaos, right? Oh, hi, Kathy. Thank you. Thank you. So what happens is that nobody really wants to deal with it for many different reasons. And that is because, first of all, when we parallel our origins, no matter where they come from, if you're paralleling it with the Anunnaki, if you are talking about the Watchers, if you're talking about the Palladians, if you're talking about the Green Bingans, you are always paralleling the human to these entities and taking away of what's happening here. There can be 1,000 different entities. I'm not saying that. I don't want to get into that type of a debate, because what it does is it creates drama. When I started to get into our origins, I was telling you guys, I paralleled this with the Anunnaki, because for the reasons that Leonard stated, every story on Earth, the names are different, but the story in itself is the same. So I paralleled with the Anunnaki, and I went a lot by Stitchin's work. And the reason why I went by Stitchin's work, even though there are a few errors, is because I find that there is information out there. And I do agree with Leonard also when Ancient Aliens started, right? That series, there was a wealth of information coming out because people were enthusiastic. But the thing is that now it's at a plateau because we're selling something, like we sell spirituality. And when I say we sell spirituality, I'm saying is that we are becoming base-like towards religion because we're getting redundant in the loop, like just like people follow religion, and they follow certain rituals. We are totally redundant in the loop. So what happens here is that I didn't want to go through all that. I took the Anunnaki, I based our origins that is happening now, and I started to work it into our everyday life. And we are enslaved in the mind in this era because we have leadership that tears us down, causes mental instability, does not promote anything healthy or spiritual. And then we have people searching, and everybody's convoluted because we don't know how to get out of this maze. And I said, screw that. This is a little bit too hairy. What about starting with the decency of soul and going inside and looking at myself, paralleling the story to the history that is there and actually changing it? And let's see how divine that I said that wrong. Let's see the divine actually activated. So I rock and roll it very differently. And I am very controversial, but I'm very fair, like that type of a thing. And I don't get involved with how people run their lives. But my pet peeve is when you lie to people deliberately and things are hard enough as it is. So, that's why the Anunnaki became my thesis, let's say, my starting point, my way of taking what we do one step forward. And you've been getting into it too a lot. The both of yous have been stepping into it. So
we just got done teaching all of the Emerald Tablets. We recited all over them in my Metaphysical Mystics course that we do every week. So yeah, we just got through with that, and it's awesome. I mean, it's definitely an activator for me. So yeah.
So
I do. There's a lot of things. Go ahead.
Course, do you run the course or do you attend a course? Tell me a little bit about that.
I run the course.
Okay.
Yeah, I run the course.
Oh, cool. So what do you do? What do you and your the guests and the participants actually like discuss or actually bring to the table? Because I didn't really know that you were the facilitator of this class.
Well, we are. We go over a lot of things. We go over, all those things that are magical, that are within us. We come back to that human, but just like the meditation, whether it's a meditation or we're talking about astrology, everything metaphysics, basically.
Basically, we kind of just base it upon each. I guess we just come up with it at the beginning of the week, and then we, kind of go from there. But yeah, we go over the Emerald Tablets. We've gone and done some astrology. We've done some astral projection. We've done some,
blind remote viewing, which was a really good one. They were all really good. All the students were awesome.
I love that. As you know, I'm not on social media as much as I used to be, although I constantly put out the work, but I didn't know that. That's very interesting because that's very helpful to the collective consciousness because you're exploring and you're expanding. So that actually
it's a group. It really is like a therapy group at sometimes for I mean that's kind of what it turns out to be, because we end up triggering each other, whether in a good way or a bad way. So it ends up being kind of a group meeting, and it's really fun. I enjoy it. And I'm grateful for all who are in it, because like Christy's here. She's been in the class for almost a year now.
Perfect. Hi,
Yeah,
Christy.
a lot of fun with it. We have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool. And that's what I want to see more of. I want to like participate and collectively come together in more things like we're doing today, the things that you are doing. Because I think that the exchange and the discussion is so necessary. And it's like, when people, the first thing when people talk to me and they tell me, hi, I could do A, B, and C. I'm like, okay, that's great. I think that we became so hung up on this level of what it means to be spiritual. I'm like, okay, like I could drag like I think to myself like stupid stuff, like, okay, like maybe I should like have fire come out of my mouth. It's not about the tools and what you do. It's about how you can turn around and like work together, and say, oh, all right, so I'm going to put you to the test there. And then you put people to the test and there you're like, oh, I'm not going to get caught in the abyss with this person. You know what I mean?
Right.
Beat all that. So, so the
it's getting crazy out there.
Yeah. So I use that because if you look at how the Anunnaki's personality was, and they say that they're the giants, and I look at them as astronauts that come back, and I look at this as a learning tool. I'm not telling you I sat down and had coffee with Inky because I had this big apparition, you know what I mean? That type of thing. I'm saying that if we look at the parallel of the personalities of these people that came into leadership, whether they had divine tools, whether they taught us, whether they constructed civilizations, we will look at some of the names and we would say, for Anu, one that rules, right? One that rules, one that obtains. So they are also dynasties that have been passed down in bloodlines or in these certain groups. And if you look at their personality and you look at how the human is constantly paying for these higher ups, for these select group of people, it is really in our own interest to band together and to stop it. Because it seems like even now, if you parallel the deluge to what's happening now and how they're getting rid of people, right? You could actually like say to yourself, the human being, although the human being gets themselves in trouble, they're always paying for what these hierarchies create. And we're the ones that suffer. So yes, while Gaia is there and it's beauty and we can create, most people don't even know how to manifest, because what's happening is that it's been taken away from them from the beginning. So what are they actually manifesting if they're only taught one way? And here we are with all this knowledge, and I can't stay silent. I won't stay silent because I
think with all the go ahead.
No.
I just think with all the lies that are being told to us, yes, there are. I mean, we are in an information war right now. That abuse is taken its toll over the years and many generations, from many generations back. I mean, we can go all the way back to our last origin story if we want to, where it was used as a way of control and confusion. And that's where we're at right now. And I think it's important for us to get together and share our truths, because they're not coming from a place of lying, and they're coming from our heart. They're coming from our expression and the things we've learned in our own lives. And I think that's what's important. I think that is what's going to bring people together, because I feel like what's going to happen is there's just going to be a parallel society of us living next to this crazy ass,
whatever,
brainwashed society that wants to be saved.
It's so sad.
That's what's going on, and this is happening right now. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
So it's very interesting because a lot of people live off the grid or in places where they're far from, the population living on top of one another. So when you're off the grid, or if you're able to like stay in that zone, it's a different mindset. But when you are off the grid in your mind and heart inside, because you're actually working it, right? And you're out there in an area where there's a lot of people, and you're seeing, you don't have to discuss with people to understand their attitudes, their mindset, their fears. There is a definite split, because I see people are unsure, a little bit off the beam whacker from what they've suffered. And people say, how could you say that? I says, because you have to be able to address it. This is not putting anything into a distorted perspective. What's happening is that there are people suffering from mental illness. There are people unsure. They've been locked up, so to speak, for 15 months. They're coming out of their own prison, whether that's their mind or their home, and now they are lashing out. And here we are, the divine, and yes, I believe we are protected because we're smart, but if we come up with it, we also have to use the tools. And nobody wants to adjust it, because again, people are like, we just want our old life back, but your old life is not coming back. You have to understand.
It's not coming back. It's not coming back.
It's not coming back. All governments are involved. It's not just the United States or China or a select few. You have every working government interacting with one another, whether they want control, whether they want to have their subjects, which are the everyday person that works the grid, in subjugation to only them, and to set a society that leaves us with very few human and divine rights. But they know that there is a cluster of us that are, I'm going to use just this terminology, activated, intelligence, thinks out of the box, will stand up, because we have done the inner work, and we know that even through death, if that's going to happen, we are exceeding the boundaries of the slave condition, and we are here. But the people get afraid and they follow, because again, everybody always wants leaders to save them, when you have to understand that a leader is someone who doesn't think they're above. They work together with the team to rise up. So I'm on a different like whole mentality.
Pain of it. You know what I mean? I think that's our biggest problem
What's
there. Is that people are afraid of being uncomfortable. They're afraid of pain.
Yeah.
And we've lived a lot of pain because we are already eating a lot of poison.
So we're traumatized from it and terrified of it.
And I feel like that's where people get really frozen. They don't
agree with you.
They're afraid to take on something that might be uncomfortable.
I agree with you. They freeze. They honestly freeze. So I'm on a whole different thing, because what we are doing is, like, I'm filming this 3-part series about the Anunnaki and us. And again, I chose the Anunnaki as a parallel because I feel that once you understand the dynamics, right, what happens is that you could apply it and you could break it down simple. So I am at the point where I'm going to film part 3. I'm going to pull it out there. I've totally decided that, this going back and forth with, the spiritual community or that whole dynamics of that mindset that is in the gutter. And excuse me, I really believe that, because you will have discrepancies within human nature. But when you start like with this, I'm going to be this king and I'm that king and I come from here and this is power, you got to show me something of intelligence behind your words. If you're doing the same old thing. So I decided that that's not my mission anymore, because I got that lesson. But the real mission now is to pull us together and really take down the powers that lead. Because let's face it, you will still have that archetype that has been in control and has dampened our ability to just be, like Leonard said, just be. You can't just be when people have a grip around your neck, and go out and just speak it. And whoever likes it, likes it. Whoever don't. I'm not planning I'm never claimed to be God. I never claimed to be above or beyond, but I know I'm a decent human being, and I could attest to the change, and I could turn around and say, come on now, stop lying to be people that you're beaming up to the mothership. You're not beaming up to the mothership if you're all confused and hectic on air and you cannot be stable, So we'll see how that goes, because the Anunnaki material just fell in my life. And then it even goes beyond that, because I'm picking away. Okay, so now I understand how religions were set up, where that factor of civilization was set up where, we could actually grow, but we're always under subjugation of some sort. And how do we take it back? Because I personally don't want to die that way. And I think that 100 years on the planet is much too short. And we do have a short of 1,000 years,
You
And
say that. You say that because Omar is going to be talking about that in the next segment. So I'll be bringing him on here in a few minutes. But he's going to talk about that. I think you'll be able to kind of parallel with him on what you're looking at. So, go ahead, keep going.
And really, that's it. So we'll take it from there. We are human beings, and we should be a little kinder to one another. We should be able to talk about all these things and learn, even if we don't agree. We shouldn't be so far out of it that we can't turn around and be kind to one another. So, like, my point is that yes, are we knowledgeable? Absolutely. Do we learn? Absolutely. Are we ignorant sometimes? Absolutely. But there comes a point that we can't keep using those same old conversations in what is happening now, because it's getting very hairy out there. And it's, they are fighting till the end. And January for the elections in the States are going to be a big thing. But really, it's just the same old dough playing out in another way. For me, people are conduits, because it's just something that, leads me to follow in a different way. So if someone is a conduit to me, I'm going to always, view it as a learning point. I think what happens is that most people, they want those conduits to become their gods, their leaders, the ones that turn around and, help humanity. But if you don't help yourself, you cannot be a part of the ever evolving growth system of humanity, because then you never know what you could till. So that's how we're doing it this year, and that's where we're going to expand. But I would love to hear what Omar has to say, because yes, I do believe that their life is too short on this planet.
Right.
Yeah, sorry, I had a little technical difficulties. Our camera froze up, so I had to come back in. But thank you for covering for us, Teresa. All right, so now we're going to bring on Omar here for a minute, and you can continue to talk. Maybe he's got something to add if he's ready to go. Omar Fiazi from Watchers Talk, please welcome.
Hi, Omar.
This beautiful man. Please, there, let's see. You're muted, bro.
Okay, so now he's Project of You, and he says humans have been made impotent, and he's absolutely right. Hello, Omar.
Aloha, my fellow projections. How are you?
You are Teresa. I'm Risa.
Good. How are you, man?
Doing fantastic. It's been a wonderful event so far, and some great ideas put forth, and a wonderful discussion. Really enjoyed hearing all of this, and look forward to continuing this discussion. And nice to meet you, Teresa.
Nice to meet you.
Lots that you had to say. I resonate with that. And but I have a different perspective, right? Because I gave my perception a couple of Motrins and woke myself up, and really realized really realized at the end of the day that humans are aliens as well, right?
Yes.
Regardless of
Yes.
whether we are on this planet or not. Because if someone lived, let's say, on Nibiru, for instance, to them, we are aliens. So, the perception of an alien is something that we need to first come to terms with and understand what that means. And second, we have to all understand that everything that is going on in this universe and the multiverse and wherever, that it's all the expression of the 0 point state. 0 point, zero dimension, however you want to call it, is the actual source. And from that source, consciousness arose, and consciousness is the expression of the 0 point state, which is a field of information that is everything that there ever was, ever is, or ever will be. And all of us are, points of attention of that zero state, to where it expresses itself uniquely through us. So when we look at aliens like the Greys or the Anunnaki or whatever the case may be, they too are a expression of that 0 point state. They're a
Yes, I
projection of
know.
us as we are a projection of them, right? It's just experiencing
Yeah.
just a different experience, because we as a consciousness, or perhaps even as a hive mind that's being fractured, is re-experiencing itself through many different vortexes. And those vortexes are humans, animals, extraterrestrials, planets, moons, stars, comets, what have you, because everything that's been manifested into a physical state is the expression of the 0 point, because that is truly is the template for all vibrations and all distortions, whether you're in the 12th density or whether you're in the zero density. It is an expression of that 0 point state, right? So another thing that we really should keep in mind is that the human avatar, or the human being, is not an established state like animals are, right?
Mm,
The animal is an established state because the animal doesn't strive to be anything more than what it is, right? It eats well and it becomes that. It just becomes a good animal. But for the human, reason why I say it's not an established state, because nature has left us to our own free will so that we can progress consciously, because we can't evolve unconsciously anymore. Like the monkey, for instance, there's evidence that a monkey is evolving, but for the human being, that there's no such thing. We need to look internally and consciously, evolve to a higher state of being, to where we can be, because there's a governor attached to the consciousness, as there would be a governor attached to, say, a truck, where you can only go up to like 60 miles an hour, and doesn't matter if you press on the gas, you're just not going to go any further than that. And this physical human experience and the consciousness that's attached to this human experience has that very same thing. It has a governor attached to it, where you can only vibrate and distort to a certain level. And from that level forward, you just can't distort on this planet any more than that, because the planet isn't able to host that type of vibration. So our consciousness can
yes.
only reach, a certain point within this third dimensional state that we exist in, or that we incarnated in.
Well, it's a nice way of putting it, and that has many valid points to it. I think that, what happens is that we're in so much search for information that sometimes we get lost in equations that confuse us rather than clarify things. And that's why I believe discussion is key essential to any type of growth, whether we agree or we don't agree. As long as we are listening to one another, then we have something to ponder at a later time, or we remember at a later time that what we rejected actually has some meaning, and it helps us. But I think what happens is that people get caught up with one way or the way that they only believe that, as you said, there's many different vibrations going on at the same time. And once you reach 0 point, there's either one or two ways that the frequency rises. So it's very, we could go back and forth all day, and we could talk about these things in eternity as long as we're on this planet. And I think as we evolve, we will learn more and more for our own bloodlines, because that's really the point for me. The bloodline, the generations to come, what I learned and what I applied and how it is useful, and to continue to teach the youth, because I think in the societies that we live in today, if we don't step up and discuss, we will lose much to ignorance.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But on the other side of that coin, it's the railroad effect. We
Yes,
are. There's a number
absolutely.
of prophecies that have come forth from the Hopi
Yes,
and the Aborigines from Australia and
yes,
even the Aboriginals up here in Canada, that there's going to be a split in
yes.
consciousness. It's either you're vibrating at a higher level or you remain stagnant, meaning that you haven't really consciously evolved, because physically we're at the peak of what we're going to be. It's the most complex piece of machinery in the universe, along with other extraterrestrials as well. Their biological
Absolutely.
suit is a complex piece of machinery. But from that, we really can't evolve any further. But internally and consciously, we can evolve. So
Right.
when you remain stagnant and when you're vibrating at a higher level, like awareness brings higher level of
Yeah.
consciousness and distortion, because the more you're aware of yourself, the more you're aware of the external as to what's going on. And the more you look internally, that internal really projects and creates the reality that you're observing into place. So the railroad effect is those of us that are on this train here, that are looking to raise our self-awareness so that we understand ourselves better. And then there's those who are just remain stagnant. They're caught into their television screens, they're caught into their fake news, they're caught into that perpetual state of fear.
Yeah.
And so what's happening now is that the as the earth is splitting its timeline, it's the railroad track is like this. You have two trains that are parallel to each other, which we are, but right now what's happening is that these two trains are separating from one another and just
Absolutely.
going
That's a nice
apart
way
like
to
that.
put it.
And then soon
Absolutely.
enough, yeah, and soon enough, we won't be able to communicate with those that remain stagnant, and those that remain stagnant won't be able to communicate with us,
And then,
because our realities will have changed, and the Earth's vibration and
Oh,
distortion will have
split.
changed to
Yep.
where we're vibrating at this particular Earth time, and they're operating at this Earth time, right? Because time is a weird thing we don't fully understand, because
yeah,
everything is
because
happening
it's
at
been
once.
Yeah,
manipulated. There's a lot
not
of things.
linear.
It's funny that you say that, because when you had said, there's a split and a divide, many of us have been speaking about that split and divide that was coming over the last 2 to 3 years. Because, I think what happens is that when this is your way of life, you're right. You evaluate things, and you view things very, like, in this higher state. And that doesn't mean you don't you have a human life, and that you don't emotionally make mistakes in a daily life. I think that's where people get confused. But you are aware, and we were speaking about this back then. And it's amazing, because when I think about it now, and I think probably why my scrapes were probably a little less felt, is because of bringing it in, to my own reality. That divide is very prevalent now, and we see it peaking. And it's like you just have to know when to zero it out for yourself, because if not, you will continuously be on that railroad, that split, that divide in mind consciousness. And it's no good if you're constantly, you got to know your position, where you're going, and you just got to continue moving forward.
Yeah, true that, and intention
See,
as well.
I believe more now in that whole splitting realities than I ever have. I've had bits and pieces as a psychic, kind of doing research, whether it was looking it up on Google or doing it spiritually, right? Within, I kept seeing that, like timelines, just, things kind of spinning. And I did now in this we're in right now, I can see that happening. I can see that split happening. Maybe it didn't happen exactly the way I saw it or perceived it, but I do see the split happening. And it's, maybe because all messages come through pretty symbolic. So if you take them too literally, and they are literal in one plane, but on this plane, which is what Teresa talks about.
Did somebody freeze here?
Yeah, I think Aaron froze.
Aaron froze because I was. But if you look at Omar, two things. Linda states many in spiritual communities can put enough fear into people. I agree. I think that we're seeing that more and more. And Leonard states you have to choose, and I agree too. But when you do choose, it should be like something that comes from you. Like if I choose something, I choose it and I just do it and that's it. I don't make a big thing out of it because I feel that takes away, that sucks the energy away from you. So if I do it, I do it. If I don't, I don't. And I just continue on. And then I go, but I've learned to listen to my gut, my intuition, and it saves me, from a lot of things that I would maybe have in the past unknowingly stepped into,
I would say they're not very spiritual communities if they're instilling fear into people. That's more of a new age movement where they've taken the same old message and just put new wrapping on it and offering it as something new when it's really the age old thing, right? In order to be spiritual, you have to be at that 0 point. You have to be neutral and not, either preach or, listen to the preach. You know what I'm saying? You just need to be, centered for yourself, because when you're centered, then
it's a circle, right? Yep.
Yeah, when your thoughts are centered.
Sorry, there's a delay here. Sorry.
Yeah, we got a delay going on here, brother. Maybe try leaving the studio.
If this is Omar's spot now, I'm gonna get out. Maybe if I get out, it'll free up a little bit of the frequency. I'm gonna continue to listen. It was very nice.
All right, Teresa.
But I'll get out.
You.
Maybe
Thank
you'll
you for being on with us today.
Okay, I'm gonna leave.
Tell us where you at. What's going on in your life? Where can people find you? Let us know what's going on in your life.
Right now,
tell everybody out there.
Right now, what's going on, I am filming the third part of a documentary that I've decided to do. I'm living my life. I'm in action. As I am in action, I am stepping away from all the propaganda and just discussing. And I am just writing and working with clients and getting out there and just, my next goal is to tear down the government in a way that coincides with the universe. You could find me on social media. You can find me on Instagram, Risa, where Mind Meets Soul, YouTube. I believe I am on Twitter. I have somebody who handles that account because it's just too much to do everything. I also work a full-time job. I would love to connect.
Yeah.
Send me a friend request. Leonard, I'm going to send you a friend request. I don't know how to reach Omar, but we'll figure it out. And you and I and Sweet Pea go back a long, long time. Mwah.
That's right.
I'm going to leave now.
Thank you very much.
Love you guys. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Yes, we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Hopefully that helped a
And
little
Omar's
bit.
back. And thank you. Yeah. Yeah, that helps. That helped a bit. It's
Yeah,
been acting
hopefully.
weird today. We got solar flares to y'all. So if your electronics are working weirdly today or being weird, that's probably why. All right. So Omar has prepared a presentation for us. He always has very great presentations. So we're going to give the floor to Omar, and then maybe later, if anybody would like to ask any questions after the portion, just let me know in the chat, in the private chat, and we can bring you on, and you can ask us some questions. And let's just go from there and enjoy this presentation.
Awesome. Thank you very much, brother.
You're
I've
welcome.
shared my screen, so if you want to toss that up there.
Yep. Let me see here. Whoops, I think I
Add
just.
the screen.
Yep.
There we go.
I gotta take you up.
I've lost my screen again. Aaron, I've lost the screen again. There we go. Seeing it now. So let me jump over there. All right, guys. So my name is Omar, and I am a host at Watchers Talk, based out of West Coast, British Columbia, Canada. And shout out to Linda, since she was from Calgary. Nice to have you here, Linda, fellow Canuck. I'm located in Kamloops, British Columbia. So I've put together this presentation for Aaron here today. So let me just quickly jump over here. All right, so as I was saying before, we have this one universe, this one observable universe that we can see, but this one universe is universe, right? Uni means single, and verse means thought. So this universe is a single thought, and within that single thought, there's infinite amounts of things that are happening within this one thought. So when we have multiverses, those multiverses will be multiple thoughts. So imagine in your mind when you're thinking of multiple things, and those multiple things taking life on their own. So we'll just quickly run through some of these slides before we get into the incarnations of extraterrestrials. So as you can see on your screen, this is the observable universe, and we are in there somewhere. So this universe, within this universe, we have trillions and trillions of galaxies, and within those galaxies, we have trillions and trillions of stars. So within this one galaxy, which is our Milky Way galaxy, it's 180,000 light years across, and that's just the observable universe in which we can observe. What's beyond that, we don't know. And, it could be much bigger than 180,000 light years. It could be expanding, as they say in the old mainstream everything. So within this, flat view, top view of our galaxy, there we are, just that tiny little guy. Let me see if I can turn my laser on so you guys can see. There we go. We are right there in there somewhere in this vastness of that space. And then when we look at it in a small container, look, there we are. Again, just a tiny little thing, right? This is called the Lenya Key Supercluster. And there's lots of those. And as you can see in the next image, there we are, that tiny little speck right there. And within that little speck is you and I. Now, in all of these galaxies and all of these stars out there, guaranteed that we are not the only ones, just as the mainstream would have us believe. But as we're going to see a little bit into this presentation, that there is a lot more going on. The universe is alive, the thought is alive. Right. So within this universe, we have, frequencies, and we have vibrations. Some are low, some are high. It all depends on the experience of the consciousness which it wants to experience. Like I was saying before, the 0 point, the zero template, from that everything manifested, and you and I are an expression of that 0 point, of that unique expression of everything that there is. And there are other things that vibrate at the first dimension, and there are things that vibrate at the 12th dimension. It's all up to you as an experiencer of the consciousness to which level you want to experience. Like I was saying before, there's a governor attached to the consciousness of a particular experience. Like we're having this earth experience, this human experience, and this human experience can only vibrate at like third to fourth dimensional state, or that distortion is I guess tailor-made to this particular planet. And then if you go to another planet within this very universe, or within this very galaxy, there'll be beings who will be vibrating at the 12th density, or even higher than that. So again, there we are. We are a tiny, tiny, tiny little thing right there. And that tiny little thing was seeded from, other parts of this galaxy. Now, when we talk about galaxies, there's a number of galaxies that surround us, but within these galaxies, there are, openings, stargates, portals that, go into different dimensional states. Like for instance, we have the 12th density. The source is the 12th density, because that's where the 0 point really loops itself, because you go from 0 to 12, and then from the 12 it loops back down to 0. So think of it as like a torus of energy and consciousness. Now, the ones that founded the earth in particular is called the founders, which would be the Elohim. The Elohim are also known as the powerful ones that came to earth and did their business, seeded life, and terraformed this planet in order for us to exist and to have this human experience at this vibrational distortion with which we are experiencing this human avatar. So the founders helped develop the humanoid form, which they are the light body, to explore the galaxy through sensory experience. Now, the sensory experience would be the five senses. Now, when we, take this form to have this human experience, we're essentially on a vacation. Right? We're on a vacation from ourselves, because in our etherical state, in our light body state, in our conscious state, we are energy. We don't have a form. We can choose to have a form. If we think that we're raising our arm like this, we will remember on how to raise that arm, but we won't physically feel raising our arm. So when we take this vacation here on this physical planet, regardless of which planet you're choosing to incarnate as, you're coming in to have a vacation from yourself, because in this state you have the five senses, right? You can smell, you can taste, you can feel adrenaline, you can get drunk, you can get stoned, you can have sex, you can just do this variety of things where you'll have that sensory experience where you can remember the memory of raising that arm. So instead of in your mind raising that arm, now you can physically raise your arm and feel things. So that's, you're taking a vacation from yourself. Now, the devolution, the founders create light packets of consciousness energy to explore the 12th density to the 9th density. Now, what that means is that, again, it comes back to the expression, to the 0 point. Now, when I was saying earlier on in our conversation about the hive mind, right? We have the human hive mind, we have the raw hive mind, and we have numerous other hive minds which have, consciously evolved to the point and to the state where they are. So let's say if we are humans and we are connected to this human hive mind, we are incarnating from our light bodies into this physical body. Now, in order for us to experience the 9th density, 10th, 11th, and the 12th, we would need to be in a light body. We would not need to be in a physical state, because to be a physical state is to have that sensory experience. And beyond that, it's more of a etherical experience, a light body experience. And earlier on, I heard somebody say, talking about root races, the Arcturians, The root races here on Earth began about 175 million years ago. And when first the root race, I believe they were called the Hyperboreans, when they first came around and when they were first seeded onto this planet, they too were light bodies, because at that time, the planet was vibrating at a different distortion. It was able to host that type of life. Now, the Hyperboreans lasted for several million years, and then from there they began to, create or inhabit this physical body, which kept on going on until the fifth root race, which we are part of. So the Earth has gone through a number of different vibrational hosting vibrational life at different vibrations and distortions. So the founders are 12th density light beings and have appeared in many forms to beings at lower densities. Now, like when we were talking about the Anunnaki earlier, the Anunnaki in itself would be an expression of the 12th density, or someone that works for the 12th density to carry out their agenda here in this third and fourth dimension. So the Anunnaki are essentially either a worker race for the 12th density of the Elohim, or they're directly from the 12th density manifested into this third to fourth density so that they can experience this form of consciousness, this form of distortion, because the Anunnaki would be vibrating at a different distortion than the human being would be. So, oh, that did play for me. Okay, so we went through this slide. Let's jump to the next one. Okay, so the source splits into fragments and sparks rays, creating polarities, spectrums to explore the feminine integration and the masculine. So when see the source, it did split. Imagine a mirror. If you have a mirror holding it straight like this and you dropped it, and that mirror drops and it shatters into a million different pieces. Those million different pieces when it's evolved, would turn into hive minds, and from that there would be the polarity, because it wants to experience the opposites of itself, which would be the masculine and the feminine. So like to say, I incarnated as a masculine being here on this planet, my higher self, the higher being, my guide, would be a divine feminine. And if I incarnated as a feminine, my guide would be a masculine energy that would guide me through this experience in this density. So about 200 million years ago, genetic devolution at seventh density, the DNA keys became DNA molecules, which enabled the incarnation of consciousness as inhabitants of seventh through to the fifth density evolving worlds. The founders and the fragments into individualized seventh density consciousness to fully explore this part of the galaxy as the human galactic family. So when we go to different galaxies, as I was saying before, each galaxy, each world, each solar system is vibrating at a different particular vibration, to where it can only host a certain expression of life. What was that, Aaron?
Yeah, I just wanted to break in there for a second. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but Linda was asking about dimensions. So she says she's not clear on the difference between dimensions and densities.
Okay, the density is at the level with which you're vibrating at, and the dimensions would be layers of space. Hey, come on, you guys. Dimensions would be the layers of space to which that particular dimension is vibrating at. Now, imagine if you take a guitar and you strum a single string. That single string will vibrate in like many different vibrations, right? Because it's vibrating up and down like
Great way to
that.
put it. I get it when you put it musically. I'm a guitar player, so I do get that. Yes.
Yeah, so each one of those vibrations would have its own frequency, and in order for you to incarnate into that particular layer, your density would have to be vibrating, like your consciousness would have to be vibrating at that particular frequency in order for you to experience that particular vibration or that particular frequency. right? Because, again, with the earth and the guitar string, it would be the same thing. And then with the solar system, it would be the same thing. And then this universe would be the same thing. Of the guitar string, if you strum it, is vibrating, right, in those different vibrational frequencies, because each strum, as it's moving through that space, is distorting that space, and then thus creating a particular frequency within that particular space. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Remember, bring her on real quick.
I think, well, Leonard explained it pretty well. He said dimension is a place and density is a state of being. So yeah, so the dimension is the place in which you are, and if you are vibrating in that place, that state of being would be at that vibration.
That's right.
Does that make sense to you, Linda?
Yes,
You're on right now. I think you're
Thank you.
muted. There we go.
Thank you. Yes, I think
Okay.
that makes sense.
Awesome. All right. All right. Go carry on, brother.
Okay, let me just quickly jump over here. Where am I? Right there. All right. So I'll jump to the next screen. Now here's a chart that I've put together, and within this chart, we have different densities and different dimensions as well, because each density would have its own different it would have its own layer of dimensions, because it's kind of like those Russian dolls, right, where there's a vibration within a vibration within a vibration, and each one of those vibrations would have their own vibrational frequency to which you can incarnate and experience, right? So as you can see here on the screen, the source I put down as God, because everyone understands the word God. I would put zero state, but I'm not really quite sure if people would catch what I'm trying to say, right? So the zero source is the God state. The God state is the ether that that we reach into with our thoughts, because that's where thoughts are stored, is within the ether, and our antenna allows us to access that information from the 0 point. And then we have the seventh density, which is the individual souls, which is a DNA molecule. That's individual soul would be us. Again, I don't like using this type of language because I don't really resonate with it. So I've put this language in there just for the sake of making it easier to understand. But for myself, the word soul means separation. And, I don't believe in the separation, because we are one, whether it be in this dimension or in another dimension, because we are all a expression of that 0 point, because we share the same energy, we share the same essence. So for us to be individual souls is for me it's a little bit misleading. So for me, I changed the word soul for like an essence, a unique expression of the infinites. Right. So the seventh would be individual. Sixth and the fifth would be the same thing, would be, individuals like us, the essence of the universe, or the essence of the cosmic consciousness. And then in the eighth dimension is what I was talking about before, where, we have hive minds. And as Leo was talking about the law of one with Ra earlier, they would be the eighth dimensional, or the eighth density beings, because they're part of this group essence, or the group soul. And I believe the humans are the same thing, because the human hive mind exists at all levels. And from those levels, we incarnate down to the lower levels through stargates. And those stargates would be the womb, right? Because when we go through the vortex of consciousness to come down from the 12th to the, let's say, to the 4th or the 5th dimension, then, we would have to go through stages in order for us to get here, because we have to step down our consciousness. So, like, let's say the 12th density consciousness, it would be a lot higher than obviously the 7th density. So you just can't incarnate from the 12th into the 7th. You have to go from the 12th to the 11th to the 10th, 9th, 8th, and 7th, and then so on and so on through the womb. The womb would be the Stargate. It leaves an imprint of a genetic code and also picks up the imprint of a genetic code of the bloodline that you're part of, and then from that imprint you pick up genetic memory, you pick up genetic trauma, things like that. And then as
That
you
is
progress,
interesting, dude.
Yeah.
That is
pardon me?
very. That's a new take I've heard. I haven't heard that one yet, but it's very, very interesting
Right.
and fascinating. I mean, yeah, I'm really digging that.
The moving from 12th to the 7th through
Yeah.
womb
I
Stargate
mean, I've heard
entries.
of it
Yeah,
in different ways, but yeah, I'm like, you can't get to this place unless you get to this place first.
It's like taking a.
There's no skipping steps.
yeah, that's right. Like, it could take you, let's say in Earth years, it could take you millions
Right.
of years to really go
Yes.
from the source down to the 7th, 6th, and 5th, and then, 3rd and 2nd. But, it applies in reverse as well, where, let's say we're here in the 5th dimension, and then from us to go from the 5th to the 12th, we have to go through the ladders, right? We would have
Yeah.
to go back to the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and we can only achieve that through the womb until you become a light body. And then from that light body, you're essentially going back to your original source of the 0 point. So when I was saying that human beings are part of that group soul, where the human hive mind is like what Leo was saying earlier, kind of like Ra from the Law of One, where somebody can channel the human hive mind, just as we can channel Ra, for instance, and get information from Ra. And the human is the same thing, where somebody can channel the human hive mind and collect information from that, and try to make themselves better, or whatever the case may be, right? But the human
Yeah.
is an independent, so you can say independent. Nothing is really independent. It's all connected within the cosmic web. But within the densities, the human hive mind is an individual mind like all else, which is vibrating at the 12th density and at the source level. And because of its vibration, within that vibration, there's a number of different experiences, like the 12th, 11th, 10th, 9th. And it's up to you to choose which experience you want to experience. Like the governor earlier, when I was saying that, here in the 5th dimension, your consciousness has a governor attached to it, then you can't vibrate, or you can't consciously get any higher than that. You've reached the zenith. And in order for you to achieve
Right.
that next level, you will have to incarnate and go through the process of going through the Stargate to the next level to experience that level of consciousness, right? So it's
Yeah.
all that high
At all
source
times.
consciousness.
You can go there now, but you don't get to stay there. You don't get to be fully conscious in that level. So yeah.
Yeah, and you can continue to experience the same consciousness again and again and again. It's kind of like going to the fair and going on the same ride again and again because you enjoyed the
Yeah.
ride, right? So when I was saying that this is like taking a vacation from the self, right? The self energy, the self consciousness. And when you take this physical form, you're taking a vacation from yourself, because in your etherical light body state, you don't have a physical body. You don't have an arm. You don't have legs. You have the memory of arms and
Yeah.
legs. So when you have the memory and you remember raising your arm, you actually won't feel raising that arm. You'll just have that memory. So when you incarnate into these physical avatars, this is taking a vacation from yourself, where you can experience that physicality of touching something and raising your arm, breathing the air, sniffing the flowers, tasting food, getting that adrenaline rush, and just enjoying the physicality of this physical density that we call Milky Way, or this universe, right? So we're essentially on
Yeah.
a vacation from ourselves. That's why we shouldn't take life very seriously, right? We should
Right.
just take it
I
lightheartedly
agree.
and just exist, right?
Take things
Because
too seriously, and you won't live a long life.
Yeah, because life does not need to have a meaning and life does not need to have purpose because life just is. Life is being
Yeah.
expressed as a 0 point and it just is. What we do is we attach the container of the what is the meaning of life to life? What is the purpose of life?
Right.
We're attaching our own physical container to that life instead of understanding that life just is, and it is the avatar that has a purpose on this in this incarnation, because you're here for a particular reason. You just didn't
Yeah.
manifest just because it is. You manifested because there is a particular reason. Either the reason is that you're on a vacation from yourself, or you're on a mission to do something, right, to accelerate or to evolve the human hive mind. Right now, when let's say earlier on, I was seeing, I'm not sure who it was, but was saying that their root race is Arcturian, right? The Arcturian would be another experience, just as this human experience. You just chose to have that Arcturian experience. Now, as a hive mind, the Arcturian hive mind would be an Arcturian hive mind, just as there's a human hive mind. But you can interchange. You can say, okay, well, I want to be part of your hive mind so that I can experience what it's like to be a human being, because an Arcturian is vibrating at a different density. Or there's a mission for you to do something here where you're coming here to relay information, or you're supposed to do something in order for the human hive mind to evolve, or the human society to evolve and to become better, something towards those lines. I don't know, but that's just speculation, really. But when it comes to the hive mind, that's I fully heartedly am down with that. Where there's individual hive minds that can interchange with one another, like the human hive mind can interchange with the raw hive mind, and raw can come into the human hive mind and exchange that information.
Right.
Yeah. I believe that. I mean, I agree with to most of what you say. I just do believe that the individuality, though we all are one, it's like we're one, and we're a bunch of pieces of the one. But that goes even further. But I do believe there is a dichotomy there with the individuality and the collective. I think those both work together. And to my experience, that's always what I've been able to use, or how I've done the work that I've been able to do because of it, and do it better
Mhm.
because I'm able to connect and have compassion and know that I am one with this person. So I always put myself in their shoes. And then also have it coming from my individual perspective, which I get what you're saying about souls, but I feel like with souls, I mean, that's just another way of saying an expression of
Right.
the one.
Yeah.
And yeah, we do all go back to one, but where do we go after that?
Well,
We can
it's
go
a
higher than
loop.
that, right?
Yeah, it's
It is a
a
loop. It
loop,
is a loop,
right? Yeah, it's
which
a
is all
loop
the way
that
back to separation and
it
individuality,
just continues
right?
to happen infinitely, right?
Yep,
It's just is, right? It just
that's right.
continues to
Yep,
happen. You can, continue to go up and down the ladder, like playing ladders and snakes. You can
yep,
continue to go up and down, up and down, up and down, and you can choose to experience whichever ride it is that you want to experience, because there's infinite
right.
possibilities, right? But you
Yep,
are the expression of the 0 point. So through you, the
yeah,
0 point is being expressed, right? And then you
Right.
have the
yeah.
ability, and you have the option
Yeah, which is
to
when you get to that
continue.
0 point, I think is when you're like, as us as a collective, you get to that 0 point place. I think that's total ascension. That's like when we're at our best, right? Which I think is what we're heading toward.
Yeah, we
But I
we
feel like,
are
yeah,
in.
go ahead.
All of us are in the 0 point state because we are
Yeah,
existing at multiple levels at the same time, right? So, all 12 densities, 13 densities, however many densities people want to have, right? We're existing within all those densities at the very same time, experiencing all of it at once. You know what I'm saying?
right.
There's no separation from us to the source just because we're individual. That individuality is just a unique expression of
Yeah.
that wholeness, that oneness, right? Because let's say there's 12 of you, right? There's 12 of you, and all 12 of you are existing in a different stage of consciousness because each level has a different form of consciousness. So you're actually
Yeah.
experiencing all of them at the same time, but this one just appears to be real because you're interconnected, you're physically connected to this density. And
Yeah.
and then the artificial mind wipe that you also have is causing us to forget that we exist in all dimensions at the same time. Now, what I say
Yes.
with artificial mind wipe is that artificial mind wipe has happened, by our own parents. It's not that that mind wipe is natural, that when you incarnate into this density that you're automatically mind wiped. That's not the case. Our parents contribute to that mind wipe because when we get here, they try to imprint their own perception upon us. And through telling us things, they begin to mind wipe us. Instead of telling your child or your grandchild that that they're part of the infinite source and trying to connect with them telepathically and trying to consciously connect with them, to continue to remind them and ask them questions of what they are, through light language or through energetic language. Those children will begin to tell you where they came from and at which density they're existing in and why they came into this density. But because we don't remind our children and we try to imprint our own experiences onto them, the
Yeah.
child forgets, right? And then having to
Yeah.
go through the sausage factory of remember, repeat, and you pass,
That's
that
it. Yeah.
also causes us to forget our origin source. But if we told our children the truth and spoke with them with dignity right from the time that they're born and asked them where they came from, to continue that memory, to keep that memory alive within them, when they begin to
Yeah.
physically express themselves, they'll physically express where they came from. But at first it'll be energetic through, like you would understand that, Aaron, through being a psychic. It's that energetic language that you're being given, and then from
Yeah.
that you'll be able to pick up and also remind them that that you won't let them forget, and that they shouldn't forget either, because of the density of this distortion that we're in that causes us to forget, right? But
Yeah.
again, that cause has an effect to it, and that effect is the parent that causes that forgetfulness. So we're all essentially victims of
Yeah.
our own
I
parents'
agree.
perception, because I hear lots, my daddy was in the army, my great granddaddy was in the army, and now I'm in the army, and then now my son's going to go in the army, right? So
Right.
you're forcing someone else to have your own experience, human experience. You're not allowing them to have their
Forcing
own
your
human
cycle
experience.
on. Right. Right. And I think I think we're kind of grounded or more conscious in this state because this is kind of right, the middle, right, the 0 point or the natural balance where everything is kind of exists. But yeah, I mean, I feel like I do have experienced some things you're explaining just through my visions. I mean, I think
Mhm.
you're right on there, dude. Like you've got a very good outlook or vision on how you see things and what you've figured out. I mean, this is awesome. I'm like, really, this is very deep. But
Yeah, cool.
I
Well,
think
I put this
we're getting
together
a
just
little
for
bit
you.
low on time.
Yeah,
But
I'm
yeah,
gonna
thank you
stop
very
sharing
much.
my screen, and
Okay.
we can have a conversation, and and then
Yeah.
once I'm complete this presentation. I think we were at like slide 12 or 13, and altogether
Yeah.
there's about 70 slides that need to go in here. So maybe in the new year we can do another
Yeah.
Yes.
Consciousness.
another
We'll talk about consciousness
conference like that.
then.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then we can go through it a little bit more.
Maybe do that New Year's Day. How about that? First day of the
Yeah, that
year.
sounds good. Nice
Well, you're
hangover
all
on New
listening
Year's
out
Day.
there.
Talk
We're gonna create an
consciousness.
event for New Year's Day.
I love it.
Consciousness. Does anybody want to come on and have a discussion, or I want to try to have a panel here? And if anybody
Sure,
wants to come on,
bring
Kristen
everybody
or
on.
Linda, yeah, let's bring them
Bring
all
Leo
on.
on, bring Linda on.
Thank you
We'll
all
have a
for
nice,
being here.
cordial conversation. Hi, Leo.
I was muted. Hi.
See if we can get all on here.
Sorry, brother. I couldn't answer you. I was muted.
You
Great presentation, Omar. I love it, brother. That
This was a
good.
great. I love this.
I don't know if you saw me typing to you, but I was like, yes, dude, go rock it. That was good stuff, brother.
Thank
Yeah, he
you.
was
Thank you.
typing in the private chat. I can see that.
Yeah, and
Very
I
nice.
really like the analogy of sound, and I didn't even talk about that. And I like that, Omar, that you went there because that is so important. I think because it is the distortion,
Yeah.
it is everything is an octave, it is a vibration, and none of us talked about that the entire time until you brought that up. So I'm glad
Which
you
is
brought
weird
that up.
because we're
Yeah.
probably all musicians, and none of us really got into it. That's what we're
Right?
going to talk about in the next event. Don't worry. Vibration, energy, vibration, frequency,
Right.
how we connect to our true selves and connect to all of those densities and dimensions that we are dwelling in right now. That's really, I think Omar's actually opened my mind up to that even more just in this experience. And all of you, Teresa and Leonard as well, that there's so much more I need to be focusing on. And really, there's more that I can expand to as my doing my work. That is actually a question I asked Spirit and got this right today. So thank you very much, everybody. And if anybody'd like to add anything or have any questions, just go ahead and free flow it for a minute.
If you guys want to
Let's see.
learn about the sound vibration and especially about the Om mantra, I recently did a presentation about, I guess, about a month ago on how to do the Om mantra. And there's a whole workshop on my YouTube channel. It's called Layers of Consciousness. And if you guys want to check that out, it's a pretty solid presentation where I take people through on how to do the Om mantra and how we can use the Om mantra to reach that zero state, the state of manifestation, and how to hold an intention and to allow that intention to manifest. Because what I find a lot of people do is that they create an intention and then they cancel that intention just very quickly afterwards. Like, I'll give you an example of something very simple is the mentality of and also the awareness and the knowledge of holding an intention is that when people say, I want an apple, and then and if that apple doesn't manifest right away, they'll cancel that intention out by saying, oh, I don't have enough money to get that apple, or I'll never get that apple, or it's going to be so difficult to get that apple. So as soon as you say that, you're creating a new intention by saying that I'm not going to get that, and then telling the universe that you actually don't want an apple. Right. So what people need to do is create the intention and then hold that intention. Even when you have these negative thoughts coming in through programming, you have to say to yourself, get out of my head, and I hold this intention, and I'm going to allow this manifestation to happen without canceling it out. So that's like one of the more important things I can say is to create an intention and then to hold that intention afterwards and not allow any negative thoughts to imprint themselves upon that intention to cancel it out. Because that seems to be the biggest problem. That's why people say, oh, I can never manifest anything, right? Because they're not looking at the analogy of the manifestation and the thought process that happens afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that is the ego that's trying to hold us back by reinforcing those negative thoughts of you can't do that, you will never be able to achieve that without me. And so the fear comes in to play, and I agree with what Omar's saying, because then we get in our own way. So that's that question again for 0 point: is your reality getting in your way? Well, yes, we have to get past. That's the hardest part. And so I agree with Omar when he said that he can't stress enough on that, because the hardest part is for us to tell ourselves, stop thinking that way and be positive and hold that intention.
Yeah, exactly. I say that to myself a lot, and I've been, and I've been really practicing what I'm preaching last week, I guess it was last Saturday, I did a great talk with Brad Olson on geoengineering and weather manipulation. And afterwards, I was like, hey, I should get the other two books in your series. I read Prison Planet, Escaping Prison Planet, Future Esoterics. And then afterwards, I made an intention. I'm still holding that intention in my head. And then even, the dark side still tries to come in and hinder that intention with me, but I'm not allowing it. I'm still holding it. What I said to myself is that I want Brad Olson's esoteric series. And that's it. I want that, and I've held that intention, and something always tries to come in. Even like right now, as I'm saying this, there's a voice in the back of my head that's trying to penetrate my mind, telling me that I'm never going to get it, but I keep telling it that I am going to get Brad Olson's esoteric series. So some way, some shape, some form over the course of next little while, that is going to manifest, and somehow, some way, I'm going to come across that entire series, and then it'll be a physical book sitting here on my table like this one, right? And I continue to see that in my mind, and I continue to hold that intention. And that's what we need to do, is that we need to become aware of our own selves, and we need to begin to look internally in order for that internal to express itself externally, because when it expresses itself externally, that becomes an observable reality where you're programming the matrix before you to give it what you want, right? In my Om Mantra workshop, I'm calling that where you go into a state where where God works for you, right? In the yogi language, it means where Shiva works for you, or in Catholicism, we can say where Jesus works for you, or where Muhammad works for you, or where Thor works for you, whatever the case may be.
Where the universe works for you.
That's right. We put ourselves into that zero state, and then from that zero state, which is the state of manifestation, we can create whatever we want. But it's our own self that is our biggest enemy, because we continue to cancel out what we want, right? So our language has to change along with our awareness, right? The higher our awareness becomes of ourselves, we need to begin to change that language within ourselves, because if we learn something new today and then tomorrow we continue to use the old language to express what we learned yesterday, which is something new, we're really canceling out what we just learned, right? We need to change our language, like I was saying, for instance, with the soul. Right? In my mind, in my perception, it tells me that I don't have a soul because I'm part of that one. Right? That one cannot be separated from something else. And within that one, I'm just a unique expression of that one. So I don't have a soul. That's why I keep saying, because I've become aware of that, I have to change my language in order for me to express that. Right. But I still also need to keep in mind that everybody else may not be on the same page as me. So I still need to use the old language, but then when I use it to express the facts. And we all need to begin to do that, because when we do that, internally we begin to change, and then internally we become a better human being. It's like a monkey. As I was saying earlier, there's scientific evidence that a monkey is evolving, right? But the same doesn't go for the human being. The human being is not physically evolving anymore. The human being can only evolve consciously. Right. So, if we don't approach that, we remain stagnant, right? The human being is an incomplete, it's not an established state like an animal is, because the human being has the potential and the ability to change itself and to become whatever it wants to be. Right. That's why it is not a fully established state. And that's the gift that nature has given the human being, right? Because if we want to incarnate as a cat, then when we incarnate as a cat, that is our life. That is it. We can never be any more than that. But when you incarnate as a human being, obviously you have an agenda and a purpose behind that incarnation, and then that purpose needs to be focused on, instead of saying, what purpose does life have? What is the meaning of life? That's not important. Right? Because life just is. It always will continue to be. We need to find our own purpose and our own meaning in life, because everyone has a different meaning in life. A serial killer will have a different meaning than the Dalai Lama, right? Or Leo, or myself, or you, or Linda, or Christy, or anyone. Right? It's our perception It's all in
Right.
our perception. That's why I say, I gave my perception a Motrin, and the swelling's gone down a
The
little bit.
swelling's gone down. Good one. I like that. Well, and that's true. The whole purpose is becoming. The whole purpose is becoming, is being. And if you are being, then you're not, like Omar said, then you're not an individual, because you can't be an individual. The soul is, like he said, is separation. And since you're not, you are complete. We need to realize that we are complete. We are a whole. We are one. We are everything all at once. It's just a matter of our perception here. And because of the ego,
Right.
the ego tries to tell us this is reality. And that's what gets in our way, is ourselves believing that and thinking that, when that's the negative. And that's what they were trying to say in The Secret. Do you guys remember that? They had the series in the books that was The Secret. And The Secret was exactly what Omar just was describing, the ability or the affirmation that there is a negative trying to keep you down. And for you to say, then, no, I'm pushing that negative out, and I'm taking that negative out of my mind. And eventually you replace all that negative with positive, and then you change as a being, because now you are becoming. Do you see? So it's exactly what Omar was saying. I agree with that. I love that analogy, because that's what the state we're supposed to ascend to or become, is being now, here, present.
Yes.
Here's a quick download. Here's a download I got the other night, and I just jumped out of my bed and I started pacing back and forth, and trying to figure out. My beautiful wife was sitting there, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And and then I was going back and forth, and I was like, I got this voice in my head that's speaking to me, and it's trying to tell me something, but I can't quite understand what it's trying to tell me. So the next morning I got up, and so I began to explore it. I did a little daydream on it, did a little meditation on it, and began to articulately express what I had, the message that I was getting in my head. So I'll read this to you guys really quickly. I just mentioned a little bit of this a little bit earlier. I go, there is scientific evidence that monkeys are evolving, but for human beings, there's no such thing, because what is human cannot evolve unconsciously. A monkey does not desire to be a human, but when you're a human, you evolve consciously or you stagnate. That's all the choice you have. You cannot evolve unconsciously, because what you call a human is not an established state. Every other creature has established states of what they are. What is human is not established. In this moment, you can be godlike, or the next moment, you can be brute-like. What is human is a flux. You can be anything you want, and this is what the human being is struggling with right now. Human beings are not suffering from their bondage. They are suffering from their freedom. You could choose to be anything you want right now in this moment. You could choose to be whichever way you wish to be right now within yourself. This is the struggle, isn't it? If your life was also fixed as the animal's life is fixed, this is how you will be, you wouldn't be struggling so much. You wouldn't be struggling so much. You wouldn't be experiencing as much pain and misery that human beings are experiencing. For example, a cat is born. A cat is not sitting around wondering, how will I become a good cat, or should I go to the cat school? It just needs to eat enough food to survive. That's all it needs. It is established. If it eats well, it becomes a good cat. Humans are not like that. Who are incarnated as a human being, to become a good one, you have to do a lot of things, but whatever you do, until the end, you won't know whether you made it or not, because what is human is not an established state. Every other creature is a fixed state. They eat well, they become that. If you eat well, at most, your body will grow and nothing else will happen, because nature has left you free to become whatever you want to become. For the human, freedom is a benediction if you're aware. Freedom is a curse if you're unaware. You just have to become more aware, starting with oneself. Learn how your mind, body, and consciousness works. If you become aware, then freedom is a fantastic thing, a beautiful thing, because you could be whatever way you want. You could be whatever you want right now within yourself. No animal, no creature has this freedom except the human creature. If you do not choose, if you remain compulsive creature, you cannot call yourself a full-fledged human being. That's why I said it's an evolutionary problem. Only when you are able to do everything by choice, you can say I am human, because a human being essentially means it is what it is by choice. If it becomes compulsive, it's like any other creature, biological. That's all, and nothing more will happen with that human being.
That was amazing,
Yes,
bro.
yeah.
Not great download. Very good.
Yeah, I came in an
Well, if anybody,
energetic form, very broken, and then the next day I had to really explore what it meant, and I'm still actually trying to work on it and trying to understand what it's trying to tell me, and that's like a really rudimentary understanding of what I put down. So I have to explore that a little bit more and find out
yeah,
what it truly means, and
reconcile it,
Right.
process
what I'm being
it.
taught and taught in that.
Yeah, you're being given a perception that's really it's definitely a higher dimensional one, from what I'm seeing, and you're learning it. You're learning. There's more, dude. Trust me, it doesn't end. Like we haven't even scratched the surface of our big cycle that we're in. But yeah,
Well,
you're
that's
on
the
a
purpose
good
of it.
track.
The purpose of it is that it doesn't
Yeah.
end, it can't end, and it won't end because it's ever
Right.
creating. It's
Right.
infinite. So there will always be a slightly different version of something that was happening before, and it can be because there is no end to it. There's no impossible
Yep.
outcome because it's still the same. You know, as someone asked Eckhart Tolle about the reality, what is the three-dimensional reality and what is happening and what is it for? And he said the three-dimensional reality that we're in is the God source becoming self-consciously aware of itself in this place.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we are manifesting
That's
that. We are that.
Mhm.
We are
Yeah.
individually and collectively the mind of the creator becoming aware of ourselves in this place, but also, like Omar said, and that's happening everywhere on every level simultaneously, that we are coming into being completely in all dimensions at the exact same time. But only here is the only
Yeah.
place that we're only perceiving this, and that's because of,
Right.
like he said, this is the vacation from the me. I can be here and be whatever I want to be here, and I can actually have that arm, like Omar said, where you can only have the memory of that when you are the energy. And here you can manifest that and have that physically. So this is the break from that, which is also that's the break from this, and that's the reflection that Omar was talking about in all the levels happening at once.
Yeah,
So
we think
Christy-
to add to that,
Christy,
Leo, we
I was going to let Christy chime in here for a minute. Unmute yourself, Christy. What were you saying? Comments or in the private chat?
Oh no, it's okay. It's just I was trying to find something that I had seen. I watched Gaia a lot, and there was an episode that they had on Beyond Belief where this gentleman came on, and he was explaining the way that he does pictures, and he does pictures with the vibrations and the water, and he's able to they're amazing looking, yeah. And so
you know, it's weird. Somebody sent me pictures in water. I don't know who it was, and I was looking at that, and they had taken water and they were swirling the water, and they took a snapshot of the water and they were shown, and then they were circled, highlighted what they were trying to show me, and I saw that and I was like, wow, I need to really look into this, but I didn't. So it's weird that you bring that up.
yeah, it's really interesting.
Scrying. That's a form of scrying in a way.
Yeah,
exactly. So I wanted to, but I looked and I can't find the guy who I'm trying to reference to, so we'll just not do that. But it was really interesting.
Well, thank you. And thank you all for being here. And we will be doing this quite frequently. So stay tuned for the next one. I think the next one we might turn into a retreat and have that an online retreat. Maybe a consciousness retreat. If these guys are down for that.
Before we go, I want to hear what Omar, he was going to add something to what I said, and he didn't get to do that. And I kind of want to hear what he was going to say.
I was going to let him finish up. I just wanted to kind of get to some,
I was like, I hope you're not ending this. What Omar had to say before you end this.
He'll remember, right, Omar?
I was
you didn't smoke a joint.
I was going to say, just going to add to what Leah was saying is that, we are on a vacation from ourselves, but we live in, two different, state of beings at the same time. Even though we've manifested as a physical avatar in this realm, but we continue to have a tether tied to us from all dimensions when when we go to sleep at night, when we dream, we are interdimensionally traveling, and we're going back to our natural state, back to our original
Yeah.
state when we go into that dream state. Because when we go into that dream state and everything seems jumbled and sometimes it's very clear, is that you're bringing information back from all of the vibrations that you exist in, because you're traveling through all of them in your light body. But when you become aware, awake in a physical form, then notice how those dreams just instantly disappear, right? So we're living in two different states at the same time, right? We're having this physical experience physically in the mind of our hive mind, and then also we're still connected to that hive mind within our light body, right? It's what was I saying earlier? It's just actually, it just kind of just oh yeah, it's when we incarnate as a physical being into this reality or into this dimension, our our source energy is a polarity, right? It's opposites of the two. It's good, the bad, the divine feminine, the divine masculine. It's both of them. So when you incarnate as the divine masculine, your higher self, right, your guide, your partner, twin flame, whatever it is that you want to call it, is the
Yeah.
opposite. So in my case, I would be the divine masculine, and my guide would be the divine feminine. In Norm's case, she incarnated as the divine feminine, and her higher guide would be the divine masculine that would guide her through this, because the experience is shared between the two. Right?
Yep.
Only half of you have
Yep.
manifested into this realm, because we can't manifest as a as a non-sex anymore. Back in the day, you could. When I earlier when I was speaking about the root races, there was a time when the human avatar was a light body, and then from the light body it became a physical body, and that physical body didn't have a sex. It wasn't male nor female, and
Right.
it grew pods
Yeah.
on its back, and then it just simply cloned itself, and you came off of that, and then you went on, and then that changed into the sexes. And it's those sexes that speaks about the story of the Adam and Eve, where the two sexes were created, the male and the female.
Yep.
And essentially what they're talking about, right, was a separation of the sex, separation of that and what's that word, hadronogen,
Androgynous.
Hydrogeny. Yeah.
yeah, that's it. Always got a hard time with that
I
word,
had
but
to think
anyway,
about it too. I almost said it the way you did.
yeah, it's a split from that, right? So
Yeah.
the Bible is
Yep.
essentially talking about the split of the root races, and the root races is really the key to understanding our human history and the extraterrestrial connection that we have as a human being to the cosmos, because that's the story of the human hive mind
Yeah.
here on this planet. Like the
Yeah.
Lyrans, the Lyrans were the ones that seeded the earthly human beings, because the Lyrans are vibrating at a much higher level. But then from the Lyrans, they're split off into a number of different groups. And then, I go in that my presentation, it just breaks into a whole lot. But, at the end of the day, when you incarnate into this world, today we have a choice. Right.
Yeah.
But for the last
Yeah.
175 million years, it was what it was. And then now we're going into the sixth root race. And the sixth root race is really coming forward now, with the indigo children and the star seeds and
Yep.
walk-ins and things like
And
that,
that's
which
pushing
is
us
a
back
shift.
towards the one. So we have a shift of
Yeah.
the duality coming more into play now.
That's
Yeah.
right. It's
Agreed.
that railroad effect that's happening,
Yeah.
right? So where you have the sixth root race that's coming in, and that sixth root race is going to go into the seventh root race, but that sixth root race is going to branch off into a number of different, sub root races on its own, to evolve that mind that we are beginning to, work on today. Like all of us, we're interested in consciousness and how consciousness works, and we're really the pioneers of understanding how our consciousness works. And now that we're teaching our children, and a lot of these kids are incarnating with powers that you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
There's a video that I just put up as a short on my channel, where there's this child. She just simply sticks her hand out like this and moves a cup halfway across the table right into her hand, by simply using the power of her own mind. And the father, when he was talking, it didn't faze the dad whatsoever that his child sitting in front of him was able to do that. Now, either this child does that a lot, and it just doesn't phase the dad, or the dad has that type of ability as well, to where he's just simply not phased. But when you look at it from our perspective, it's amazing. Here, I'll actually show you what I'm talking about. It's only like a 50-second video. Here, I'll bring it up.
And while he's bringing that up to that point, you can see in history what Omar was talking about, what I was talking about. If you read the Gnostic Gospels, and moreover the Gospel of Truth, it tells the creation starting from the androgynous God, goddess or goddess Godhead, of the duality of them being one unisex. And there's more than that. Those books were all removed from the Judeo-Christian Bible because it didn't paint the narrative that they were trying to paint. So they took all that knowledge away because they didn't want us to know that part, because they were trying to paint the picture of the Jesus phenomenon being the only time that happened. And that's why the Hebrews didn't like that. So now I'll shut up because he's got it up there on the screen.
Hey guys, so not really quite sure what's going on in this video, but as you can see, this little baby there, she's using some kind of mind power. I checked around, there's no one pushing that cup or anything like that. You can actually see the reflection in the stove. What is the power of that child? That is a star seed. Quite sure what's going on in this video, but as you can see, this little baby there,
Very cool.
Kids are very much more
Right?
connected when they're still young. Yes,
reflection
that's
in
for
the
sure.
stove. You can see the reflection in the stove here, and also right here, this cup moving forward. And there's nobody behind this counter pushing or pulling that cup. So you can see this little baby there. Look at that. That's just phenomenal. And this is what these kids are
doing it just
born.
naturally.
Yeah, this is how these kids are being born now. Like, they have like these extreme powers and these abilities to where they can do things, and nobody is paying any attention to that. Like, I put this video up asking people, say, hey, what's going on here? Right? The only answers I'm getting is Photoshop, or it's reversed, or it's this or it's that. It's like, no way. I just recently attended a 2-day conference on star seeds, and I understand how consciousness is operating within these indigo children, and that's a clear example of what's going on with these kids across the world. And that's not the only baby that's doing this. I bet you there's millions of them across the world.
Right, you notice the brother. There was no surprise to the brother at all. It was a matter of fact.
Yeah, talking about.
He's just sitting there. He's just sitting there doing his thing, and that happens. Yeah.
Yeah. So Christy was just saying, so they all grow up thinking they're insane or crazy. In fact, they just have gifts.
Yeah.
And that's true.
See, because her son manipulates water, he's able to get it.
Well, I want to end on this spot. I think we're going into more that we could be doing on another event. We will be doing
that's
that.
A whole new event, right?
Yeah. 2 hours, 30 minutes. So beautiful. Thank you all. I enjoyed this from the bottom of my heart. Really. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron, for having me. This was great. Good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
You guys have
Thank
a
you very
great
much,
weekend.
brother. I really appreciate it. This was fun. Enjoyed brainstorming and learning from everyone. Everyone had great ideas and great presentations and great information to really build on, and to learn from is the key thing here.
There will be more, y'all. Stay tuned.
Well, and it's good affirmation, when you get together with people and we all talk about the same thing and we all have different ideas, then we're actually affirming to each other that we're right on the right track, because we're all independent, but we're all getting the same message and we're all figuring the same thing out. So that means what we're doing seems to be right, because collectively we're all catching on, and that's a good thing. You know what I mean? Because that tells us what I'm doing, what you're doing, what Omar is doing. We're all on the same page. So we must be doing what we're supposed to be doing, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, it's good to get together
and
to remember that you're not going crazy, right? And that there's other people in the community, and you come together and you talk and share ideas, and and it really sets you into a new tempo. You get that new beat and that rhythm to yourself, more energy to explore new things from which you learn. So, these
Right.
conferences are, wonderful for that. But not only what's happening on screen, but, for me, the most, really the fun part is reading the comments, because, the information that's being shared in the comments
Yeah.
far exceeds the information that's being shared on
Yes.
screen, because of the links and the thoughts and, just the amazing people that are watching. Really motivates a person. And the things that I learned from, reading the chats is, hey, I got to learn that a little bit more. What's this person talking about? And follow this link and that link that people share, and
Yep.
just expand your awareness, right? So it's a positive thing altogether. So thanks for holding the space today, Norma and Aaron.
Thank you
Appreciate
all.
you guys. Yes,
Deep
yes.
gratitude to all of you. Have a great weekend.
Just want to thank you all so much, Aaron and Norma.
Oh, thank you,
Uh,
Linda.
Thank you.
Much love and gratitude.
We appreciate it.
Much love and gratitude to you.
I love you guys. Have a good one.